Chapter 297. The second matter is about Tang Daily. Li Residence Main Hall. Ma Zhou took out a stack of manuscripts and handed it to Li Zishuan. He said, "Lord Zhu, after the publicity you planned, there have been a lot of people who have contributed to the Dehua Jianghu section. The themes of these people's novels are similar to a legend of a mortal's journey to immortality. I've picked out two of the most outstanding ones. What do you think, Lord Zhu?" Li Zishuan smiled knowingly. He had spent so much time promoting Tang Daily's novels, and his hard work had not been in vain. There were indeed people who were truly noble and virtuous in this world, but they were very rare. Most of the scholars, although on the surface they considered themselves noble and virtuous, would fight to fall into the mortal world if the price was high enough. This was exactly what Li Zishuan needed. The novel market would only become popular when there were more authors joining. Haha, not bad, not bad. Let me take a look. Why is the paper so rough? Li Zishuan took the manuscripts and laughed happily at first, then frowned. Cough, Lord Zhu, those scholars who contributed were from poor families. They couldn't afford good quality rice paper. Ma Zhou explained. Oh, I almost forgot about that. How about this, Brother Ma, in the future, for every novel writer that we hire, we will give them 2 pieces of good quality paper for free for every manuscript they submit. This can be considered as a benefit for them. Li Zishuan slapped his head and shouted. This guy didn't know the cost of daily necessities until he was in charge of the household. He had forgotten that in this era, good quality rice paper was not something that ordinary people could afford. Haha, once this method is out, I'm afraid that the enthusiasm of the scholars will be even higher, right? Ma Zhou nodded and smiled. That's exactly what I want. Anyway, the cost of making new paper in our workshop is not high. Li Zishuan said as he took the manuscripts and started reading. The name of the first novel was Zhang Xiaohua's Journey to Immortality. The author was Tian Xianghua. Introduction. A young man without spiritual roots, by chance, saved a seriously injured elder of Miao Yun Valley. The elder was grateful and recommended him to become a member of Miao Yun Valley, a small cultivation sect. By chance, he obtained the ability to turn waste into treasure. Since then, he has embarked on the path of cultivation. Li Zishuan's expression was a little strange. Why does the introduction look so familiar? Just by looking at the introduction, he knew that it was full of tricks. Chapter 1. Zhang Xiaohua. The enormous mountain range that was shrouded in clouds was like a primordial beast that was about to awaken. Low rumbling sounds came from the sky above the mountain range. Accompanying the loud sounds was a vast amount of energy that covered the sky. Sigh. A disappointed sigh came from an ordinary-looking youth with a wooden expression. He had failed again. This was the 69th time he had failed in the past 5 months. No matter how tough Zhang Xiaohua's mind was, he was still surrounded by depression and despair. The corner of the young man's mouth revealed a trace of a bitter smile. He shook his head and looked at his hand. Was his aptitude really that bad? Zhang Xiaohua clenched his fist tightly. His nails had already pierced deep into his flesh, but he didn't seem to feel any pain. He was 17 years old this year, and had already been a disciple of Miao Yun Valley for 3 years. Miao Yun Valley was a small sect in the cultivation world. They had nearly 1,000 disciples, and Zhang Xiaohua was one of the low-level disciples. In 3 years, his fellow apprentices had already entered the middle stage of spirit formation. A few of them had even entered the late stage of the 5th layer, but he was still lingering in the 1st layer. Li Zishuan read a few paragraphs and lost interest. He felt that he could more or less guess the plot after reading this. He guessed that wherever the pig trotters went, it would be the start of the auction. Wherever he went, it would be best if the person's cultivation was only 1 level higher than him. Wherever he went, it would be a treasure hunt, but in the end, he would be the only one to obtain the inheritance treasure. No matter which world he went to, the first few pages were destined to be encounters. F***ck. This was basically an old story from cultivation novels. In the modern era, when The Legend of a Mortal's Journey to Immortality came out, it quickly ignited the popularity of the mortal genre. A large number of books that followed the trend, such as 100 Refinements to Immortality, Search for the Immortal Path, Limitless Demonic Path, etc., appeared out of nowhere. Fighting monsters, leveling up, treasure hunting, auctions, these were all used over and over again. Sigh, modern people like to follow the trend, but I didn't expect the ancient people to follow the trend even more. What should I do? I originally thought that someone would write a novel for me to read. But now, it seems that there is still a long way to go. Li Zichuan's heart was filled with regret. Lord Zhu, is this novel not good? When Ma Zhou saw Li Zichuan's expression, his heart skipped a beat and he asked in puzzlement. This was a novel that he had picked out from dozens of novels. Oh no, it's not bad. Although this story is similar to The Legend of a Mortal's Journey to Immortality, this person can be considered to have imitated his own style. In the next issue of the newspaper, let's publish this novel as well. In the future, The Legend of a Mortal will be set at 3 p.m. every day, so that we can copy some pages for other novels. Li Zichuan came back to his senses and said, in his previous life, he had experienced the bombardment of all kinds of novels and was already a proper bookworm. His taste was definitely higher. In this era, people did not read many novels. He felt that The Legend of Zhang Xiaohua's Journey to Immortality was old-fashioned, but that did not mean that others would feel the same way. Just like 100 Refinements to Immortality in his previous life, although it was a copy of The Legend of a Mortal, it still attracted a large number of readers. Yes, Lord Zhu. Then what about the other novel? That novel is actually as good as this one. Do you want to hire it? Ma Zhou asked. Let's hire it. I believe in Brother Ma's taste. Li Zichuan waved his hand and said casually. When he heard Ma Zhou say that novel is actually as good as this one, he did not have the mood to open it to take a look. Thank you for your trust, Lord Zhu. Ma Zhou thought that it was really because Li Zichuan trusted him and was suddenly overwhelmed by the favor. No need. Oh right, Brother Ma, in the future, as we hire more and more novels, the original The Legend of the Underworld section will definitely not be enough. You have to be prepared to separate this section. In the future, Tang Daily will be separated into 2 separate publications, news and novels. Li Zichuan thought for a while and added, Yes, Lord Zhu. I will arrange it in advance. Didn't you just say that there are 3 things? What's the last one? Replying to Lord Zhu, the third thing is that there are not enough chapters for The Legend of a Mortal's Journey to Immortality. I know that Lord Zhu is busy, but I still hope that Lord Zhu can find the time to write a few more chapters. After all, you said before that the authors who stopped updating didn't have a little ahem, know that thing? As Ma Zhou spoke, he almost blurted out that word. He suddenly felt extremely embarrassed. F***ck. Li Zichuan almost vomited blood in his heart. Was this considered shooting himself in the foot? I've already prepared this. Here, I'll give it to you. This is the 20 chapters of The Legend of a Mortal that I wrote this morning. Chapter 298. After sending off Ma Zhou, the debt collector, Li Zichuan shook his head and returned to his courtyard. He was surrounded by beauties, running water, and a gentle breeze. Under the pavilion, Li Zichuan was marking the test papers while enjoying the wonderful, humanistic care. He was very satisfied. He planned to finish marking the test papers today and then have a comfortable holiday for the next 2 days. Of course, the facts later proved that he was thinking too much. TSK, amazing! Yu Dongkai, this unlucky guy, perfectly stepped on all the traps I dug. He didn't let any of them go. Amazing! Did this little bastard do it on purpose? Li Zixuan looked at the test paper in front of him and sighed. On the top right corner of the test paper, there was 18 written on it. If Yu Dongkai was here, he would have vomited blood if he heard this sentence. What the hell do you mean by I did it on purpose? Isn't it because you purposely set me up? Doesn't your conscience hurt when you say that? But then again, Yu Dongkai was too good. As long as Li Zixuan purposely set a trap for him, he would answer all the questions wrongly. If this guy walked on a road with landmines, he would probably walk on all the landmines buried. Luckily, Li Zixuan set a few honest questions without any trap. Otherwise, Yu Dongkai wouldn't have dared to score a 0. Xiao He and Xiao Shi, who were waiting on the side, heard Li Zixuan's words and couldn't help but cover their mouths and chuckle. They silently mourned for this student named Yu Dongkai. Not bad. Sun Zifen, this kid, improved quite quickly. From 20 points last time to 58 points this time, although he still didn't pass, although this guy gave 3 answers to the last question, although all 3 answers he gave were wrong, this rapid progress is still worthy of praise. Li Zixuan held Sun Zifen's test paper and sighed. Xiao He and Xiao Shi looked at each other and were speechless. This sentence sounded strange to them. The first half of the sentence was fine, but the second half of the sentence was used 3 times in a row. Was this a compliment to Sun Zifen? Or was it mockery? Haha. Brother Hua, my novel has been accepted by Tang Daily. Furthermore, their editorial department had offered a high price of 20 copper coins per 1,000 words. That's great. Jin Yu Academy, under the pine forest. Chen Tianhua laughed heartily with an excited expression. Oh? Why was the price so high? Didn't they say that 1,000 characters were worth 5 copper coins? Hua Hongyi asked in surprise. Brother Hua, you didn't read it carefully. Back then, he said at least 5 copper coins per 1,000 words. As for the exact amount, it depends on the quality of the work. Chen Tianhua explained. Oh, then congratulations to Tianhua. This way you'll be able to earn 3 or 4 strings of cash every month. Although Hua Hongyi couldn't help but feel a little disappointed, he still sincerely congratulated his good brother. Tianhua, you're really amazing. Although my novel was accepted, I only received a price of 10 copper coins for 1,000 words. Liao Feichen couldn't help but say. Feichen, don't think like that. It's a good thing to be accepted. A few days ago, both of you didn't think that you would be accepted, right? Now that your wish has been fulfilled, don't be discontent. I heard that there are at least 50 scholars who have submitted to Tang Daily these few days, if not 100. It's not easy for both of you to stand out. Hua Hongyi analyzed with a smile. Yes, Hongyi is right. It's not easy to be accepted. Feichen, you write first. I believe that you'll write better and better later. Chen Tianhua interrupted. Yes, that makes sense. I was a little greedy. Liao Feichen thought for a moment and nodded in agreement. It turned out that the 2 novels that Faubert had picked out were both from Jin Yu Academy. Oh, right, Hongyi. Didn't you say that you wanted to write your own novel? How's the preparation going? Feichen and I are looking forward to it. Chen Tianhua looked at Hua Hongyi and asked. Hua Hongyi thought for a while and said, My novel isn't imitating A Legend of a Mortal's Journey to Immortality. I plan to write a new story. There's no cultivation level, no treasure hunting, and no trial auction. I plan to write about a hooligan who knows a little about martial arts. I'll write about him roaming the Jianghu and serving justice. I've already built the framework of the novel. I should be able to write 30,000 words soon. I'll take it to the workshop and try my luck. It'll be great if I can be accepted. If not, I'll just treat it as my own entertainment. Wow. Martial arts? It sounded pretty good. But Hongyi, have you seen any Jianghu masters? Liao Feichen asked in surprise. Of course I have. When I was young, I lived in the Sichuan area. There were many Jianghu sects there. I've seen many real Jianghu masters. So, I thought that instead of writing about those illusory cultivation and Tao, I might as well write about the Jianghu masters that I've seen. Hua Hongyi looked to the south with some nostalgia and said, "After hearing what you said, Hongyi, I can't wait to see it." "Hongyi, go and write it," Chen Tianhua said excitedly. Yes, yes, yes. Go and write it. I've never seen a legendary Jianghu master before. Husband, see if there's anything else you need. I'll go to the East Market tomorrow and buy it for you. The sea is windy and the waves are strong. You have to prepare everything in advance. Guyi Lane, Meng family. Although the fleet would set sail the day after tomorrow, Mother Meng had already started to help Father Meng pack his things. Hey, it's still early. Why are you in such a hurry, you silly woman? Besides, we're going out to sea to work. Why are you packing so many things for me? Isn't it troublesome to bring them along? Father Meng looked at the luggage on the bed and felt a little uncomfortable. However, he still said impatiently, "But these are the clothes that you need to wear frequently. How can you not bring them? Also, I heard from Sister Wang next door that it's cold at sea at night. You might catch a cold." Bullshit. You believe that woman's words? Father Meng said angrily. It's always good to prepare more. Husband, you have to be careful at sea. How and Yaya are counting on you. Mother Meng said weakly. It's fine. I won't die for sure. Don't you know how good I am in the water? Why are you wasting time here? Go and cook for the 2 children. Father Meng waved his hand and turned around impatiently. However, no one noticed that a drop of turbid tear almost fell from the corner of this tower-like man's eye. He was actually afraid that he wouldn't be able to come back this time. If that was the case, what would happen to his 2 children? All right, husband, I'll go and kill that old hen and stew it for you. Wait, you prodigal woman. That hen's eggs are for how to nourish his body. How can you kill it? Chapter 299. Father, outside the house, Meng Wenhao stood in the corner with his back against the wall. He clenched his fists so tightly that his fingernails dug deep into his flesh. However, he did not seem to feel any pain at all. His eyes were slightly red at this moment. Obviously, he had heard the conversation just now. At this point, no one could stop Father Meng's journey to the south. Meng Wenhao and Mother Meng had tried, but in the end, they returned without success. Meng Wenhao's heart was extremely heavy. He sighed, shook his head, and went to the front hall dejectedly. In the hall, the thin and weak Yaya also felt that the atmosphere in the house was not right. A child's heart was always very sensitive. Big brother, is Daddy leaving soon? Yaya looked up and asked in a crisp voice. Yes. Father will leave the day after tomorrow. Yaya, you have to be obedient and not distract Father. Meng Wenhao's heart ached. He rubbed his little sister's braids and said softly, Yaya will definitely be obedient. But brother, where is Father going? When will he be back? To the south. He should be back in 2 or 3 months. Meng Wenhao replied with uncertainty. But Yaya heard from Fat Tiger that Father might not be able to come back this time. He said that Yaya will be a child without a father in the future. Yaya doesn't want Father to leave, but Father doesn't listen to Yaya. Brother, Yaya is so sad. Nonsense. Meng Wenhao was furious. He clenched his fists and said hatefully, Yaya, don't listen to that little bastard Fat Tiger's nonsense. The next time I see him, I will definitely beat him up. Father will definitely be fine and will definitely be back soon. Brother promises you. Yaya believes in brother. But brother, don't fight. Fighting is not good. Husband, this is the rice wine I bought in the East Market today. Do you want to try it? At night, candles were lit in every house in the square. In the Meng family, a family of 4 sat around a shabby table for dinner. The atmosphere was very warm. Father Meng glared at his wife. He wanted to scold her for being extravagant, but in the end, he didn't say anything. Smelling the fragrance of the rice wine, Father Meng's long-suppressed alcohol addiction was also aroused. He picked up the bowl and took a sip. He didn't swallow it immediately, allowing the taste buds in his mouth to absorb the stimulation of the rice wine's fragrance. Ah, good wine. A moment later, Father Meng swallowed the mouthful of rice wine and sighed. Father, what kind of good wine is this? The Drunken Immortal Inn's Drunken Immortal is the real deal. Meng Wenhao forced a smile in order to liven up the atmosphere. You stinking brat. That immortal drunken wine is a liter of 5 strings. Is it something that rough men like us can drink? Although Father Meng had never drunk the Drunken Immortal before, he was obviously quite knowledgeable. He pointed at his son and scolded him with a smile. Hey! Who said that father can't drink it? Teacher said before that everyone is born equal. The reason why we are treated differently is because we don't work hard. One day, I will let you drink the Drunken Immortal every day. You can drink as much as you want. Meng Wenhao said firmly. Haha. My son is ambitious. The proudest thing in father's life is to have a son like you. So what if Squire whose family is rich? His son is not as capable as my Hao. When Father Meng heard this, he didn't criticize his son for bragging. Instead, he was filled with pride and laughed heartily. How did you do in the monthly exam this time? I heard from Squire whose son that your school of mathematics is getting higher and higher in the Directorate of Education. Many students from other schools are paying attention to the monthly exam this time. Mother Meng smiled and asked with a hint of joy on her face. It was not easy for Meng Wenhao to enter the Imperial College of Mathematics and Mathematics from the provincial capital school. His mother was very satisfied, but people were greedy. After Meng Wenhao entered the Imperial College of Mathematics and Mathematics, Meng Wenhao's mother thought that it would be good if her son could continue to enter the Four Gates School of Mathematics and Mathematics. However, she didn't expect the School of Mathematics to suddenly rise in status. It seemed like it was going to surpass the other schools. When Meng Wenhao heard his mother's question, he couldn't help but think of the situation during the exam this morning. He pondered for a moment and answered, Mother, I think I did okay. As for whether I can get first place, it will depend on my luck. He looked at the wine bowl in Father Meng's hand and continued, If I can get first place, according to the rules of our School of Mathematics, I can bring you all to the Drunken Immortal restaurant for free. However, by the time the results are announced, I'm afraid Father will have gone to sea. The atmosphere in the room became a little heavy for a moment. Haha, you're such a boring woman. We're having a good meal, why are you asking about the exam result? When have we ever worried about our Hao-er's results? Father Meng slapped the table and glared at Mother Meng. He then looked at Meng Wenhao and said earnestly, Although I won't be home at that time, you can take your mother and Yaya with you. All these years, our family has been eating chaff and vegetables. It's good to take this opportunity to improve our diet. Isn't Yaya craving for that gnawing chicken? This time, let's let her eat to her heart's content. As a man, how can you act like a little girl? Although Father didn't study much, I know that separation and joy are common things in the world. A man should be open-minded. How can you care about these trivial matters every day? Yes, Father, I understand. Meng Wenhao wanted to refute, but after hesitating for a moment, he still responded in a muffled voice. Haha, Father knows that you're all worried. Actually, there's no need for that. For this voyage, Boss Feng has equipped each of our ships with a compass. Even if we're separated from the team due to strong winds and waves, we can still use the compass to find the direction. As Father Meng spoke, he took out an exquisite compass from his arms. It was a product of the Curious Pavilion workshop. Meng Wenhao was very familiar with this thing. When the first generation of compasses was released, he was still at the scene. Mother Meng saw the shiny object and took it curiously. Hey, be careful, be careful. This little thing costs 5 strings of money. Father Meng hurriedly exhorted. Mother Meng was so shocked that her wrist trembled, and she almost dropped the compass to the ground. Fortunately, Meng Wenhao's hand was quick enough to catch it. Mother Meng said with lingering fear, "Thank goodness! Why is this thing so expensive? Bring it over." This thing is a navigation tool specially made by the Curious Pavilion for this voyage to the south. It's said that Hao Er's husband, Li Xiannan, personally invented it. This thing is light and can give accurate directions. How can it not be expensive? I heard that the bosses of the other fleets only equip one compass for every 5 ships. It's rare to see someone as generous as Boss Feng. Father Meng asked for the compass and carefully put it back into his pocket as he grumbled in annoyance. "Oh, then Boss Feng is really a good person," Mother Meng said happily. "Father, Yaya doesn't want to eat the gnawing chicken. I only want Father to stay." Yaya, who was chewing on her cornbread, said meekly. Father Meng. Chapter 300. Your Highness, you've come? The next morning, Li Zishuan had just finished his breakfast when he received a report from a servant that Li Xiaogong had arrived. He hurried to the main hall to receive him. With Li Xiaogong's status, there was naturally no need to report his arrival to the Li residence. Thus, he was directly welcomed into the main hall by the steward, where he was served tea while waiting for Li Zishuan to arrive. "Ha, sit!" Li Xiaogong gave a bold smile. It was clear that he had been living a very comfortable life recently. "Yes." Li Zishuan felt somewhat awkward. "Damn, this is my house. Why do you make it seem like I'm the guest and you're the host? Tomorrow, the army and fleet will set out for the south. Little Xian, you should know about this, right?" Seeing Li Zishuan sit down, Li Xiaogong fiddled with the teacup in his hand as he casually asked this question. Li Zishuan nodded and smiled. This kid really does know. Shouldn't your highness be in the barracks organizing the army? Why do you have the time to come see this kid? My great Tang's army rests on their spears every day, and there's not a single one missing from their daily training. Why would they need to sharpen their spears at the last minute? Besides, even if this king wasn't here, the generals would have already made arrangements. Otherwise, what would they do? Li Xiaogong's lips curled as he nonchalantly said. Li Zishuan's heart was moved. This is the style of a powerful nation. From the sovereign to the common people, everyone had a powerful self-confidence in their bones. This was something that the Song, late Ming, and Qing dynasties lacked. It was no wonder that in a few years, the great Tang would be so powerful that it would have no friends. This king came today to thank you for the compass. This thing is truly too useful. Many of this king's veteran navy soldiers loved it so much that they couldn't bear to part with it. They kept saying that this compass was a life-saving item. This king also asked His Majesty for a reward for you, but His Majesty seemed to have other plans and didn't want to reward you right now. This king couldn't change His Majesty's decree, so I could only personally come to thank you. Kid, your actions have saved the lives of many soldiers. After Li Xiaogong finished speaking, he solemnly cupped his hands and bowed to Li Zishuan. Li Zishuan was shocked. He hurriedly moved aside and said, "Your Highness, you are too serious. As a commander-in-chief, it is understandable that you care about the lives of your soldiers. As a citizen of the Tang Empire, I am able to enjoy such a stable living environment because the soldiers on the front lines sacrificed their lives for it. Now, it is my duty to do something for the Tang army. I dare not accept your Highness's bow." In fact, he knew in his heart that the reason why Li Er did not take the opportunity to reward him was probably because he was still concerned about the wireless telegram. Previously, he did want to get his title promoted as soon as possible, but he did not want to be led by the nose by Li Er all the time. Therefore, this time, he directly gave up. If he did not get promoted, then so be it. Anyway, he was quite happy now. You brat, you sure know how to say things. But what you said is very reasonable. It's rare for you to have such a high level of awareness. Seeing that Li Zishuan did not accept his bow, Li Xiaogong did not force him. He returned to his seat and smiled. He, Your Highness is overpraising me. Li Zishuan gave a dry laugh. In his heart, he was criticizing Li Xiaogong for being insincere. Since he was here to thank him, why didn't he bring any gifts when he came? For example, the few luminous pearls that Wang Yu had given him previously were not bad. He believed that Li Xiaogong's house definitely had such things. It was just a matter of whether Li Xiaogong was willing to part with them. If Li Xiaogong knew what Li Zishuan was thinking, he would definitely give him a big kick. It was true that he was leading the army south this time, but this was not his personal work. In the end, he was still working for Li Er. There was no need for him to fork out his own money for this matter. As for the second matter, Shaoxian, this prince had specially found some seafarers to verify the nautical chart that you gave me. The result was that your nautical chart was flawless and perfect. With this detailed map and the compass, this king is even more confident about going out to sea this time. This is all thanks to you, brat. How about this? If you have any difficulties in the future, come and tell this prince. If this prince can help, this prince will definitely do his best to help. Li Xiaogong stroked his half-inch beard and said straightforwardly. Li Zishuan was overjoyed. This was more like it. After working so hard for so long, he finally received some returns. Then this little one would like to thank your highness. I wish your highness a triumphant return in advance. Li Zishuan cupped his hands and said with a smile. It was not easy to gain the friendship of a prince. It was equivalent to gaining another backing. Should I go in or not? But what should I say when I go in? Yongle Lane. Meng Wenhao stood opposite the Li residence. Looking at the tall walls, he was somewhat hesitant. In the morning, he felt too depressed at home. He originally planned to go to An-Yi Lane to see how little Yuer was doing. On the way, he passed by Yongle Lane. He did not know what he was thinking, but he unexpectedly walked in and stood beside the Li residence. He looked into the distance and hesitated. Then take care, your highness. This little one will go to Murky Mountain to see you off tomorrow. While Meng Wenhao was hesitating, a burst of laughter came from the front door of the Li residence. Then two people came out. One was Li Zishuan, and the other was a middle-aged man with a noble aura. Meng Wenhao had never seen him before. Haha, that's fine. See you tomorrow on Murky Mountain. The middle-aged man laughed and got into a luxurious carriage parked in front of the door. Then the carriage started and gradually went away. Wenhao? Why are you standing here? Are you here to see your master? Why don't you come in? Li Zishuan was about to turn back to the house when he inadvertently glanced at Meng Wenhao at the entrance of the alley. He asked curiously. Meng Wenhao was shocked and panicked. He was so focused on watching Li Zishuan and the middle-aged man talking that he forgot to avoid Li Zishuan's sight. Now that he was discovered, he could only bite the bullet and go over to reply. But the strange thing was that he clearly saw Li Zishuan and didn't shout, but his voice traveled so far. It was really strange. Sir, this student is just passing by. Meng Wenhao came in front of Li Zishuan and stammered. The corners of Li Zishuan's mouth curled into a meaningful smile, and then he looked at Meng Wenhao and said with a smile, since you're just passing by and I've coincidentally bumped into you, then why don't you go in and have a seat? This isn't a dragon's pool or a tiger's den. Wenhao, why are you so afraid? No, this student isn't afraid. I'm just afraid of disturbing, sir. Meng Wenhao hurriedly explained. It's good that you aren't afraid. Come in, I also have something to tell you. Li Zishuan didn't wait for Meng Wenhao's reply. He flicked his sleeves and turned to enter the courtyard. Meng Wenhao opened his mouth, but didn't have time to say anything. He could only obediently follow in. He was also very curious about what Li Zishuan wanted to tell him. Chapter 301. Meng Wenhao had just followed Li Zixuan into the front hall of the west courtyard when he smelled a faint fragrance of spices. Following that, he felt a trace of refreshing coolness. He looked around and found that there was actually a basin of ice placed in each of the four corners of the room. Above the wooden basins there was still a trace of cold air. Meng Wenhao couldn't help but sigh in his heart at Li Zixuan's extravagance. This was the first time he entered the Li residence's interior. When he came to the Li residence before, Li Zixuan received him in the pavilion in the courtyard. He couldn't help but take a few more glances. There was a large chair made of lacquered red peach wood, a few seats that were relatively simple but still couldn't hide the magnificence of the carved materials, a small square table with a porcelain pot decorated with flowers and birds, and a few small porcelain cups with the same flower decorations. A table, a chair, a table, and a stool, the furnishings were ingenious. The entire room revealed a sense of luxury and nobility. Haha, sit. Sit. Although Li Zixuan didn't stare at Meng Wenhao, he had been paying attention to him from the corner of his eyes. He came to the vermilion chair at the head of the hall, sat down, and laughed. "Thank you very much, sir." Stimulated by the fragrance of the spices and the coolness of the ice, Meng Wenhao's heart gradually calmed down and wasn't as flustered as before. "Here, let me tell you a piece of good news first. Congratulations on getting 101 points in this month's examination, first place in the entire academy." Li Zixuan didn't beat around the bush at all and directly said, "Ah?" The main reason Meng Wenhao came today was to inquire about the results of this examination. Although he felt that this examination was not bad, and he was lucky enough to get first place, but when it really came down to it, he realized that he was not mentally prepared in this aspect at all. Hearing this, he could not help but be stunned. Immediately after, he was hit by such a huge surprise that he almost fainted. His lips trembled a little. He wanted to say something, but nothing came out. His young heart was like a pot of fire that was burning up, hot and warm. Li Zixuan smiled and didn't say anything to interrupt. He just leisurely drank his wine while waiting for Meng Wenhao to wake up from the surprise. Meng Wenhao took a few deep breaths and suppressed the fanatical excitement in his heart. He looked at Li Zixuan and asked, "Sir, when you were outside the door, you said that you had something to do with me. Is it about this?" "Yes," Li Zixuan said casually. Meng Wenhao choked for a moment and then asked, "Sir, if I remember correctly, this is the total score of the monthly examination, should be 100 points. But why did I get 101 points? Could it be that you have remembered wrongly?" "Haha, of course." Li Zixuan smiled and then went to the back room to take out Meng Wenhao's test paper. He said, "I think that you answered the last question very well. Your thinking is very comprehensive. Of course, you wrote 2 answers in the end, which also shows that you are very courageous. In the last question, in the whole school, there are only 5 people who can consider the cost of labor. Not only did they consider the cost of labor, but you were also the only one who came up with the correct answer. I calculated that there are a total of 10 people who answered the last question correctly. Except for you, the other 9 people all answered 197, and your answer was 197 or 200. Wenhao, your thinking is very comprehensive. What's commendable is that not only can you ask questions, but you also have the courage to put it into practice. I admire you very much, so I gave you an extra point. Anyway, I'm not afraid of you being proud. Ha!" In his previous life, there were 2 correct answers to the last question of the monthly exam. The only point of contention between the 2 answers was whether or not the 30 copper coins that Boss Wang should have received from this transaction should be included in the loss. The various experts on the internet all had their own opinions, each saying that they were right, while the other saying that they were right. In order to avoid a debate, when Li Zixuan set the question, he simply decided on 2 answers. He didn't expect Meng Wenhao to be so daring as to write down both answers. Li Zixuan admired this courage from the bottom of his heart. After all, if he were in Meng Wenhao's shoes, he wouldn't have dared to play around like this. So that's how it is, Meng Wenhao suddenly understood and muttered to himself. After he handed in the test paper yesterday, he regretted it for a while. He was afraid that because of his meddling, he wouldn't get a point for the last question. He didn't expect that in the end, he would get an extra point. Li Zixuan laughed and said, "Haha, Wenhao, don't be so agitated. Since you were lucky enough to get first place in this monthly examination, what I said before still counts. After classes officially start in 2 days, I will announce this time's results to the public. At that time, you can bring your family to the Drunken Immortal restaurant. Feel free to order whatever you want to eat. I'll treat you." "Wow. Little Xian, you're treating. Then I want to go too." At this moment, Ching Chumo's voice came from outside the room. Following that, they saw this fool swagger in, followed by San Bao, who had a bitter expression on her face. San Bao pointed at herself, and was about to explain something when Li Zixuan waved his hand and laughed. "All right, you don't have to explain. I know. You can leave now." How could he not know Ching Chumo's personality? Other than the first few times he came to the Li residence and had someone announce his arrival, which other time didn't he swagger in directly? This personality that didn't know how to be polite was very similar to that little fatty Li Tai. "Yes, young master." San Bao saw that Li Zixuan's tone was amiable and didn't seem to be angry. He heaved a sigh of relief and quickly left. Chumo. Ching Chumo had taken care of Meng Wenhao in the School of Mathematics, so Meng Wenhao quickly stood up and greeted Ching Chumo. Ching Chumo smiled and nodded at Meng Wenhao in greeting. "Chonyo, I haven't seen you come over to play recently. Why did you come over just because we talked about food?" Li Zixuan joked with a smile. Ever since he started teaching at the Imperial College and became Ching Chumo's teacher, this fellow didn't come over to play with him. Perhaps this was the natural fear students had for their teachers. Li Zixuan felt that it was a pity. Ching Chumo was his first close friend after transmigrating. If he lost this friendship because of this, he would feel that it was a pity. Ahem. Who said that? I didn't come over to eat today. I just happened to hear it. Ching Chumo explained awkwardly, then sat down on a chair beside Li Zixuan. "He, tsk, Xiao Xian, the chairs in your house are still the most comfortable. It's a pity that they aren't sold outside. Otherwise, I would have asked my father to buy a set." This fellow leaned against the back of the chair, and didn't forget to exclaim, "Hee, if Uncle Ching really likes this chair, I can ask the workshop to make another batch. It won't take much effort. But it's only you who wants it, not Uncle Ching, so I think we should just forget about it." Li Zixuan didn't want to alienate this friendship. He didn't put on airs in front of Ching Chumo and spoke as casually as before. "Xiao Xian, you're not a good friend," Ching Chumo said angrily. "Haha, alright, let's get down to business. Chonyo, why are you here today?" Li Zixuan laughed and asked, no longer teasing him. "What else can I be here for? I'm just here to ask old Ching how he did in the exam and whether he would enter the role of shame." Ching Chumo sat up straight and looked at Li Zixuan. Although Ching Chumo didn't care about his results, he didn't want him to enter the role of shame and embarrass the Ching family. Chapter 302. "Oh. So, Chonyo, you're here to ask about my results." Li Zixuan felt as if the sun had risen from the west when he heard that Ching Chumo was here to ask about his results. The son of the devil incarnate actually cared about his results? "Yeah, Xiao Xian, tell me, did I get out of the role of shame?" Ching Chumo asked anxiously. Li Zixuan glanced at Ching Chumo and then looked at Meng Wenhao with a strange expression. They were both his students, but one of them was here to ask if he got first place, and the other was here to ask if he got out of the bottom 5. This was really, let me think about it. Oh, I remember, Chonyo, you got 59 points this time. Not bad, you're already in the middle of the school of mathematics. Li Zixuan's insane mental strength was not for show. With just a thought, the results of the monthly test appeared in his mind. He looked at it and found Qing Chumo's results and ranking. Really? Haha. That's great. My dad has nothing to say now. Qing Chumo was very excited when he heard it and shouted loudly. However, after a while, he suddenly reacted and said unhappily, "That's not right. Why is it only 59 points? Xiao Xian, we have such a good relationship. Can't you give me more points? Don't worry, I won't be proud if you give me more points." Ahem, Meng Wenhao almost choked to death when he heard this. There was no other reason but because of what Qing Chumo said. Li Zixuan had just told him that. Today, he had seen the strange relationship between Qing Chumo and Li Zixuan. Both of them had a similar style of speaking. Li Zixuan was also speechless. Now it seemed that his previous worries were unnecessary. Qing Chumo, this idiot, did not alienate this friendship because of the teacher-student relationship. This joker was still as shameless as before when he played with treasures. Now that I think about it, Ugly Bull, you forgot to deduct a few points from your test paper. So you can only get 50 points. You're not just 1 point away from 60 points. You can't expect me to give you another 10 points, right? Li Zixuan shrugged, pretending to be helpless. Chow, little Xian. I've never seen someone as shameless as you. Qing Chumo stomped his feet and said angrily. Bang. You still have the guts to call others shameless. Li Zixuan casually tossed a teacup to Qing Chumo, who was already prepared. He stretched out a hand and caught it firmly. Haha, just kidding, don't take it seriously. Qing Chumo laughed dryly. Then he suddenly sighed and said, That's right. Sigh, actually little Xian, you can also see that I'm not cut out for studying. The fleet heading south is going to set off tomorrow. If it wasn't for my father, I would have definitely gone with Uncle Li and the others. The vast sea, free and unfettered, this is where I, Qing Chumo, should go. Ha ha. Li Zixuan could hear the loneliness in his words and couldn't help but feel a little uncomfortable. The atmosphere in the room also became a little quiet. Ugly Bull, how's your swimming? After a while, Li Zixuan broke the silence and asked. I'm not good at swimming. Qing Chumo's face turned red and he scratched his head awkwardly. F***ck, you're not good at swimming, and you still want to go south with the prince? Why don't you go and ask the prince if he wants you? Li Zixuan's face was as if he had just been F***ed. It turned out that he had worried for this guy for so long for nothing. I don't know how to swim, but I can learn, Qing Chumo said unwillingly. Learn your ass. Li Zixuan waved his hand and didn't want to bother with this guy. He turned to Meng Wenhao and said, Wenhao, you actually came here today to check your score, right? Meng Wenhao heard Li Zixuan call him and he quickly recovered from the explosive conversation between the two and answered honestly, Yes, sir. Well, since you have checked your score, then you can go back. The fleet will set off tomorrow, so you can go back and accompany your father. Wenhao, you don't have to worry too much. I've already asked Prince Hejian to send someone to keep an eye on your father's safety. Also, I know the owner of your father's boat company and I've already sent someone to talk to him. He won't make things difficult for your father. Li Zixuan nodded and said, Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Hearing this, Meng Wenhao was pleasantly surprised. The big stone that had been hanging in his heart for a long time finally fell to the ground. He stood up excitedly and bowed to Li Zixuan to express his gratitude. No need. Sit down. This is just a small matter. You are my student. Of course, I can't just sit by and do nothing when you are in trouble. Li Zixuan comforted him. Yes. Wenhao, you don't have to be like this. I was wondering why you were so depressed these days. So it's because of this matter. If you had told me earlier, I would have helped you. Haha. Qing Chumo was boasting shamelessly on the side. A good picture of a master and disciple was interrupted by this guy. Meng Wenhao was so amused by Qing Chumo that he couldn't continue to bow. He stood up, hesitated for a moment, and said to Li Zixuan, "Sir, this student has one more thing to ask. If it is convenient for you, please agree." Li Zixuan nodded and said, "Say it first." Meng Wenhao said awkwardly, This student wants you to advance the reward for the first place in this monthly exam." After saying that, Meng Wenhao was a little ashamed. Li Zixuan had helped him a lot before, and now he was still making these requests. He felt that he was pushing his luck. Oh? Could it be that Wenhao is afraid that I will renege on my debt? Li Zixuan asked with a smile. No, Meng Wenhao quickly explained, but before he finished, he was interrupted by Qing Chumo. "Damn, Wenhao, you got first place again this time. That's awesome. In Xiaoshuan's words, you are so awesome." Qing Chumo's focus was always different from others. His first reaction was to marvel at Meng Wenhao's result. "Shut up, you have the nerve to say that. Look at Wenhao, he always pursues first place. What about you? You always pursue to get out of the bottom. Look at you." Li Zixuan said angrily. "So what? Wenhao is going to be the top scorer. I don't expect to be the top scorer." Qing Chumo curled his lips and said indifferently. Li Zixuan saw that this guy was like a dead pig that wasn't afraid of boiling water, so he didn't bother to say anything more. He looked at Meng Wenhao and said, "Wenhao, continue. What are you thinking?" Meng Wenhao continued to explain, "Teacher, it's like this. I have always had a dream. I hope that one day, I can take my parents and sister to the best restaurant in Chang'an City for a meal. I came from a small place and entered the Imperial College. In fact, my parents worked harder than me. I want to repay them, but they never let me work for them. I can only study hard. Now that I finally have the chance to realize that dream, my father is going to go to sea. Therefore, I hope that I can redeem the reward for the first place in the monthly exam in advance. I can let my father drink the wine of his dreams before he goes to sea. Please grant my wish, teacher." After saying that, he bowed deeply to Li Zixuan. Li Zixuan was silent. Qing Chumo also stopped joking and became silent. "I promise you. Wenhao, get up. These are what you deserve. You don't have to beg me." Chapter 303. Meng Wenhao, why are you looking for me? Li Yu, who was in the editorial department of Tang Daily, was racking her brains to write the news. When she heard that someone was looking for her, she came out and saw that it was Meng Wenhao. She couldn't help but be surprised. "No. Nothing. I'm just here to see how you've been recently." Compared to the first time they met, when her clothes were tattered and her face was dirty, the current Li Yu could only be described as stunning. Her eyebrows were picturesque, her lips were red, her small face was like a goose egg, her thin body, and her fiery red clothes fluttered in the wind. She was like a fairy that had descended from the heavens, elegant and otherworldly. She was completely different from the little beggar a few days ago. Meng Wenhao couldn't help but stare blankly at her, stuttering a little. Li Yu was the treasure in the hearts of his adoptive parents. She was afraid that she would melt in their mouths, fall in their hands, and touch in their arms. She had been doted on since she was young. Even though their family fled to Chuyun village, and their lives weren't as rich as before, Fu Lingyan and Lu Yixue never stopped providing for Li Yu's daily necessities. It could be said that in the first 10 years of Li Yu's life, she didn't understand the suffering of the world at all. It wasn't until her adoptive parents passed away that she stumbled to Chang'an alone and tasted the hardships along the way. At that time, she was thankful to be able to get food to eat, so how could she have the time to dress up? Therefore, when Meng Wenhao met her for the first time, she was in such a terrible state. But now, the little girl had a high-paying job that countless people envied. Li Zixuan even gave her an advance of 5 strings of money. After deducting the rent and household expenses, she was left with a large sum of money. Li Yu directly turned from a little beggar to a little rich woman. Now that she had money in her pocket, she naturally wouldn't treat herself unfairly. She dressed up and walked around, buying beautiful clothes and hair accessories whenever she saw something she liked. It was as if she had returned to her days as a little princess in Chuyun village. Me? I've been doing well recently. Meng Wenhao, why are you blushing? Hee, are you mesmerized by my beauty? Li Yu immediately noticed the unnatural expression on Meng Wenhao's face. She proudly spun around on the spot. Her fiery red dress was like a ball of fire, dancing in the wind, passionate and unrestrained. Cough, cough, of course not. Meng Wenhao coughed dryly, took 2 steps back, and flatly denied. Hee, your face is getting redder and redder, and you're still denying it? That day, this lady said that the robber didn't have good eyesight. He only wanted to rob money and not women. At that time, you didn't believe me. Hee, do you believe me now? Li Yu pointed at Meng Wenhao's red face and giggled. Meng Wenhao was speechless. He thought to himself that it was a good thing that the robber didn't have a good eye. If he did, you would have been in big trouble that day. All right, I won't tease you anymore. Tell me, why are you looking for me? I don't believe that you came here just to see me. Li Yu twirled the hair in front of her chest with her fingers and said with an expression that said, I'm very smart, don't lie to me. Meng Wenhao scratched his head and said, also, I'm here to treat you to a meal. You treated me to Yangchun noodles before. Cough, although we didn't eat it, at least we became friends because of it. At this moment, he couldn't help but recall the frivolous words that Li Zixuan had said in the morning at the Li estate. Oh, that's right. Why don't you call Li Yu along as well? I think the 2 of you will be quite interesting together. Hee, sure. It's rare for you to take the initiative to treat me to a meal. Tell me, where do you want to eat? Li Yu was quite surprised when she heard this. She thought for a while and agreed. Hee, let's go to the Drunken Immortal restaurant. Wow! Drunken Immortal restaurant. Did I hear wrongly? Wenhao, did you get rich? Li Yu shouted excitedly. Although she had some assets now, she didn't dare to go to the Drunken Immortal restaurant. A meal there would cost at least 3 or 4 strings of money. No. It's because I got first place in this monthly exam. Sir gave me a reward. He said that I can bring my family and friends to the Drunken Immortal restaurant for free. We can order whatever we want to eat as long as it's not a waste. When Meng Wenhao said, you can bring your family, he paused for a while. He was afraid that Li Yu would misunderstand, so he quickly added the words, and friends. Li Yu didn't know the rules of the mathematics school, so she didn't suspect anything. She just exclaimed, wow! Wenhao, you're amazing. There are so many talents in the Imperial College, and you actually got first place. Meng Wenhao was very happy to be praised by such a beautiful girl. He said embarrassedly, I only got first place in the mathematics school, not in the entire Imperial College. Little you don't talk nonsense. That's still very amazing. But is it appropriate for an outsider like me to go when Sir is treating your family to a meal? The mischievous Li Yu became shy at this moment, which was rare. There's nothing inappropriate about it. Not only my family, but Sir and his friends will also go. Meng Wenhao explained. Oh, okay, I'll go to the Drunken Immortal restaurant after I'm done. Li Yu was relieved when she heard that Li Zixuan would also go and that she wasn't the only outsider. Although she looked like she didn't care about anything on the surface, she still had a sense of propriety in her heart. She knew what to do and what not to do. Mom, you don't have to cook for lunch. I'll treat you to a big meal at the Drunken Immortal restaurant. Meng Wenhao came back from the workshop and saw his mother picking vegetables in the courtyard. He went up and said with a smile, Howard, do you have a fever? Why are you talking nonsense? How can our family afford to go to the Drunken Immortal restaurant? Meng Wenhao's mother hurriedly put down the vegetables in her hands and got up to touch Meng Wenhao's forehead. Meng Wenhao didn't know whether to laugh or cry as he took away his mother's hand and said, "Mom, I don't have a fever, and I'm not talking nonsense. I went to Sir's house this morning, and he said that I got first place in the monthly exam. According to the previous rules of the Institute of Mathematics, the top scorer can bring his family to the Drunken Immortal restaurant for free. I discussed it with Sir and decided to have this meal at noon today. So, Mom, you, Dad, and Yaya, quickly pack up and get ready to go." "Really?" Meng Wenhao's mother widened her eyes in surprise. She wasn't greedy, she just enjoyed the honor. "Really, Mom, quickly go," Meng Wenhao said again helplessly. "That's great. Darling, Hauer got first place in the exam. Quickly pack up, we're going to the Drunken Immortal restaurant for lunch." After getting confirmation, Meng Wenhao's mother reacted and ran into the house excitedly, shouting as she ran. Chapter 304. How isn't it inappropriate for us to do this? Surly has taught you a lot, and we're here to ask him to treat us to a meal. Isn't that a little unreasonable? Meng Wenhao's family of 4 arrived at the Drunken Immortal restaurant in the East City. Seeing the bustling place, Father Meng was an honest man. Thinking that Li Zixuan was going to treat them to a meal out of his own pocket, he felt a little guilty, so he hesitated. Yaya didn't understand the ways of the world, but when she heard her father's words, she felt that her luxurious lunch was going to be ruined. The little girl raised her head and looked at Meng Wenhao, hoping that her brother could change her father's mind. Sure enough, Meng Wenhao didn't disappoint her. "Dad, this is the system set by our school of mathematics. Even if I don't go to the Drunken Immortal restaurant for this meal, Sir won't agree. Sir won't go back on his word for this little bit of money." "Hauer, you're right. Since that's the case, let's go in quickly. Don't let Surly wait too long." Father Meng agreed after hearing his son's analysis and felt that this was indeed the case. Yaya heard this and her little face immediately bloomed with a smile. Meng Wenhao smiled, pulled his little sister, and walked towards the Drunken Immortal restaurant with his parents. "Little you're here?" In a private room on the 4th floor of the Drunken Immortal restaurant. Li Yu was personally led in by Manager Liu. After all, the 4th floor was usually not open to the public. Li Yu wouldn't be able to enter without someone leading the way. Li Zixuan looked at the splendidly dressed Li Yu, who was pretty and cute, as if she was a different person. His eyes lit up as he greeted her with a smile. Greetings, sir." Li Yu pursed her lips and smiled. She walked gracefully in front of Li Zixuan and bowed to Li Zixuan. Since the first time she met Li Zixuan, she had been calling him Mr. Li Zixuan like Meng Wenhao. Even though she was working for Li Zixuan now, she couldn't change the way she addressed him. "Haha, come, little you let me introduce you. This is Qing Chumo, the eldest son of Duke Lu's family. This is Qin Huayu, the eldest son of Duke Yi's family. This is Yuqi Baolin, the eldest son of General Yuqi's family. They are also Wenhao's schoolmate." Now that someone was treating him to a meal, the thick-skinned Qing Chumo naturally wanted to join in on the fun. Li Zixuan didn't refuse. He thought about it, then asked someone to invite Qin Huayu and Yuqi Baolin over to another table. Their families had always been close, so it wasn't a bad idea for them to meet up occasionally and get to know each other better. When Li Yu heard Li Zixuan's introduction, she was shocked. Qing Yaojin, Qin Qiong, and Yuqi Jingde were all too famous. It was hard for her not to have heard of them. She didn't expect that she would be lucky enough to meet the descendants of these 3 famous generals today. Li Yu greets young Master Qing, young Master Qin, and young Master Yuqi. Li Yu bowed to the 3 of them. "Haha, Miss Li doesn't need to be so courteous. Just be casual. Little Xian has already told us about how you outsmarted the villains and punished the unscrupulous merchant. I admire Miss Li's wit." Qin Huayu politely returned the greeting. "Haha, Huayu is right. No need to be so courteous." Yuchi Baolin wasn't good with words. As the saying goes, the more one talks, the more mistakes one will make. He could only agree. Young Master Qin is joking. Those things were just Li Yu's previous playful actions. It's nothing serious. Li Yu said humbly. Li Zixuan rubbed his eyes. He suspected that this little girl in front of him was a fake Li Yu. The Li Yu he knew was clearly a willful, eccentric little girl. When did she become such a virtuous lady? It seems like this little girl could be both a spoiled lowly and a virtuous lady. She really was a little beauty with 100 transformations. Meng Wenhao had picked up a treasure. TSK, Wenhao's taste is not bad. Qing Chumo had obtained more information from Li Zixuan. He pinched his chin and smiled as he looked at Li Zixuan for a moment and muttered in a somewhat improper manner. Li Yu didn't hear it clearly, but Li Zixuan's hearing was good. After he heard it, he glared at Qing Chumo. He really didn't know how to chat. Who would joke with a girl like this? It seems like this guy was destined to be a single dog for life. Haha, little Yu sit here for a while. When Wenhao and the others arrive, you can go and eat with them. Ah? Mister, you're not going to eat with them? Li Yu was dumbfounded. We're not going. There are so many people at the table. Li Zixuan shook his head and said. Then. Mister, I'm not going either. I'll just eat here. Li Yu hesitated. We're all men here. Why are you, a little girl, joining in the fun? What's wrong? Our fearless little Yu also knows how to be shy? Li Zixuan joked. Of course not. Who's shy? Young Master Meng, this way please. Yes, this is the room. The 4 of you can eat here. My young master and a few of his friends are next door. He'll be here in a while. Meng Wenhao and the others arrived at the Drunken Immortal restaurant. After they explained their identities, Manager Lu personally led them to the room next to Li Zixuan's. Thank you, Manager. Meng Wenhao politely cupped his hands and said. You're welcome, young Master Meng. You're an important guest that my young master specially instructed. Just tell him what you want to eat. I'll take my leave first. Okay. Take care, Manager. Brother, Yaya wants to eat nibbled chicken. After Manager Lu left, Yaya pulled Meng Wenhao's sleeve and said greedily. Nowadays, gnawed chicken was already a household name in Chang'an. In the past, Yaya could only listen to those rich kids describe how delicious gnawed chicken was, and then she would drool at the side. Now, after coming to the birthplace of gnawed chicken, how could the little girl hold back? Okay, I'll let Yaya eat nibbled chicken today. You can eat until you're full. Meng Wenhao rubbed the little girl's ponytail and smiled. By the way, Dad, do you want to drink immortal drunken wine? Drunken Immortal Restaurant's most famous is immortal drunken wine. Do you want a liter? Meng Wenhao looked at his father and asked. Ever since Father Meng entered the Drunken Immortal Inn, he had been in a daze. The Drunken Immortal Inn's extravagance and Manager Lu's respectful attitude had given him a huge mental impact. He never thought that a poor and pedantic man like him would actually have the opportunity to come to such a luxurious place and even receive such respect from the manager. He felt like he was dreaming. He had given birth to a good son. All of this was because of his son. Father Meng sighed in his heart more than once. Howard, what did you say? Father Meng woke up and asked when he vaguely heard his son calling him. Meng Wenhao had no choice but to repeat himself. Father Meng hurriedly shook his head and said, No. Dad heard that immortal drunken wine costs 5 rounds a liter. It's very expensive. Although Lord Li is treating us to a meal, we can't not be generous and ask for such expensive things. Uncle Meng, you don't have to worry. Just order if you want to drink. I don't care about this bit of money. Since we're here, we have to eat and drink well. Otherwise, wouldn't we be wasting the opportunity that Wenhao fought so hard for? At this moment, a burst of hearty laughter came from outside. Following that, Li Zixuan walked in with Li Yu. When Li Zixuan and Li Yu came in, Manager Lu personally served them while sending a servant to inform Li Zixuan. When Li Zixuan heard the news, he walked over with Li Yu and happened to hear Father Meng's declining words. Chapter 305. Sir. When Meng Wenhao saw Li Zixuan enter, he quickly stood up and bowed. Then, he turned to his parents and said, Father, Mother, this is my teacher in the School of Mathematics. Meng Wenhao's father was shocked. He didn't expect his son's teacher to be so young. He secretly thought that the son of a rich family was indeed not someone his small family could compare with. He was so young and yet he had the ability to become a teacher in the Imperial College. Meng Dachuan greets Lord Zhu. Zhu Qing greets Lord Zhu. Meng Wenhao's father and mother quickly came over and bowed to Li Zixuan. As a commoner of the lower class, they had a natural fear of the upper-class aristocrat. They had never come into contact with such a high-ranking official, so they were even more reserved. Haha, you don't have to be so polite. Take a seat. Li Zixuan quickly walked over and helped the two of them up. He said in a warm voice, You two gave birth to a good son. Haha, this banquet is an opportunity that Wenhao fought for himself. Since you are here, don't think about saving money for me. Eat and drink as much as you can. If you don't eat well, I will be unhappy. This is what you deserve. Meng Wenhao's father and mother heard this and were inexplicably excited. They stepped forward and said, Thank you, Lord Zhu. Haha, no need. Wenhao, is this your little sister? Li Zixuan smiled and waved his hand. Suddenly, he saw Yaya hiding behind Meng Wenhao and looking at him timidly. Yes, sir. Come, Yaya, come and greet sir. Meng Wenhao quickly pulled Yaya out and said. Before Meng Wenhao's mother came, she had dressed the little girl up. At this moment, Yaya's hair was neatly combed. Although the clothes on her body weren't luxurious or expensive, they were still neat and tidy. At least there weren't too many patches. But even so, the little girl was too thin and looked malnourished. It was very distressing to look at her. Yaya greets Lord Zhu. When the little girl saw that everyone was looking at her, she couldn't help but feel nervous, uneasy, and shy. She carefully took 2 steps forward and bowed to Li Zixuan and said weakly, Haha, little sister is called Yaya. She's so cute. But Yaya still needs to eat more in the future. Right? What's Yaya's favorite food? Li Zixuan could see the wariness and restraint in the little girl's eyes. He squatted down and tried to use a gentle tone to look into Yaya's eyes. However, with his current appearance, it was unknown whether he would be misunderstood as a wretched uncle who was trying to kidnap a lowly. Oh, Yaya wants to eat the gnawed chicken. Perhaps Li Zixuan's appearance was very deceptive. Hearing this, Yaya tilted her head and thought for a moment before replying in a crisp voice. The drunken immortal restaurant has so many bites of chicken. How many bites of chicken can Yaya eat? 3 portions, no, 5 portions. Yaya looked at Li Zixuan gesturing there, and her mouth couldn't help but drool. She licked her lips and replied. Haha, good. Yaya, you have to keep your word. You have to eat 5 servings, okay? Only by eating more can Yaya grow up to be as beautiful as this big sister. Do you understand? Li Zixuan waved his hand to stop Meng Dachuan, who wanted to come over and scold Ye. He then pointed at Li Yu and said to Ye. Yaya looked at Li Yu, who was dressed up like a little fairy. Her eyes revealed an envious gaze. She firmly nodded and said, Ye must eat more. In the future, I must grow up to be as beautiful as this big sister. When Li Yu heard the 2 people praising her beauty, the corner of her mouth couldn't help but curl into a beautiful arc. It was obvious that she was very happy in her heart. And Yaya is so obedient. Li Zixuan patted Yaya's head with satisfaction. He stood up and looked at Father Meng and Mother Meng and said, Since that's the case, I won't disturb your family's meal. Oh, this lady is Li Yu. She can be considered as half a disciple of mine. She is also a very good friend of Wenhao. She hasn't seen Wen Hao for a long time. Today, she came over to eat together and reminisce about the past. Li Zixuan almost forgot the purpose of this visit. He quickly pushed Li Yu out and introduced her. As for how much of his words were nonsense, only Meng Wenhao and Li Yu knew. Greetings to uncle and aunt. Li Yu knew that it was time for her to go on stage. She gracefully stepped forward and bowed. Good, good, good. No need to be so polite, no need to be so polite. Mother Meng's eyes lit up. She enthusiastically stepped forward and held Li Yu's hand with a smile. Li Zixuan gave Meng Wenhao and Li Yu a look that said, "This is all I can do for you two." Then he bid farewell to Father Meng and Mother Meng and left the room. Sigh. As a teacher, not only do I have to impart knowledge to my students, I also have to matchmake them. TSK. Li Zixuan thought to himself. Haha. How long has it been since the last time we gathered? Today, I, Old Ching, am going to drink to my heart's content. In another room, Ching Chumo poured a glass of drunken immortal for everyone, except for Li Zixuan, of course, and laughed heartily. Li Zixuan knew very well that the excuse of not gathering for a long time was just an excuse. Most importantly, he did not have to force them to pay for the food and drinks today. Chon Yo is right. Huayu, Bao Lin, it's rare for us to gather together. Let's eat and drink to our heart's content. To Li Zixuan, money was just a bunch of numbers. He did not even know how much money he had. Of course, he had to be generous when it came to treating his friends to a meal. Thank you, little Xian, for your hospitality. Here's a toast to you. Qin Huayu raised his glass and laughed. Here's a toast to little Xian too. Yuqi Baolin also raised her glass and joined in the fun. In the School of Mathematics, they had a teacher-student relationship with Li Zixuan. But outside the School of Mathematics, they were good friends again. All right then, here's a toast to you too. But little Xian, you're drinking a soft drink. It's not strong at all. Ching Chumo grumbled unhappily. Haha, I didn't want to show my alcohol tolerance. I was afraid that it would hurt you, Chonyo. Come, cheers. Li Zixuan laughed heartily as he drained the cup in one gulp. Of course, what he said just now was not completely nonsense. The weather had been hot recently, and he was addicted to drinking cold soft drink. Slowly, he figured out how to control the true qi in his body to burn the alcohol, so that it would evaporate and be expelled from the body. This thing sounded quite mysterious, but it was not difficult for martial artists who had entered the qi transformation realm. First, it was because their understanding of martial arts and the meridians of the human body had already surpassed the scope of ordinary people. Second, martial artists in the qi transformation realm had gone through the stage of refining energy into qi. The quantity and quality of true qi available in their bodies were far from what martial artists in the qi drawing realm and the body refining realm could compare with. Therefore, controlling true qi to burn alcohol was really easy for them. When Li Zixuan was bored out of his mind, he thought of those wuxia cultivation novels from his previous life where the protagonists used their internal energy to force alcohol. That was why he tried it out of curiosity. He didn't expect that he would succeed. Although the principle of forcing alcohol was different, the final goal was achieved. Haha, tsk, good. Little Xian, stop bragging. You should drink your soft drink. Ha. Ching Chumo put down his glass and curled his lips in disbelief. Li Zixuan could not be bothered to argue with him. There was no need to compete between brothers. He smiled and shook his head, minding his own business as he ate. Although Qin Huayu could drink, he was not good at it. After drinking a glass of drunken immortal, his face had already begun to turn red. Ching Chumo looked at him and finally said to Yuqi Baolin, since both of them are not good at drinking, then Baolin, let's have a drinking game. Okay. Yuqi Baolin hurriedly agreed happily. Chapter 306. You two are good brothers. 3 stars illumination. 4 happiness wealth. 5 champions. 6 smooth. 7 coincidences. 8 immortals longevity. 9 consecutive rings. All of them. Ha ha, Baolin, you lost. Drink, drink. In the private room, Ching Chumo slammed the table and shouted excitedly. Burp. Let's drink. Who's afraid of you? Yuchi Baolin was bigger than Ching Chumo, but she wasn't as smart. She always lost when she played with Ching Chumo, and her drunken immortal level was higher. Therefore, after a while, Yuchi Baolin was a little tipsy and couldn't speak clearly. Li Zixuan and Qin Huaiyu were almost full. They put down their chopsticks and sat at the side to watch the show with interest. This was the second time Li Zixuan saw the ancient version of the finger-guessing game. The first time was also in this place. That was when the gnawed chicken had just come out. Ching Chumo and Li Chengqian were playing finger-guessing games here. However, Li Zixuan was accompanying Lan and Changle to tell stories, so he didn't pay much attention. Therefore, this was the first time Li Zixuan seriously observed the ancient version of the finger-guessing game. The finger-guessing game was also known as finger-guessing, 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 and finger-guessing. It was a game that people played to liven things up when drinking. It originated from the Han Dynasty. When drinking, 2 people stretched out their fingers at the same time and each said a number. Whoever said a number that matched the total number of fingers stretched out by both parties would be the winner. The loser would drink. There was a word from 1 to 10, which was collectively known as the fist word. The fist words were generally different from place to place. Later, the finger-guessing game developed into a family, and the method of execution became an independent system. Empty fist, inner fist, 5 poison fist, 5 elements order, 7 stars order, and 3 victories order were all in this category. Haha, come again. As the finger-guessing game required shouting, it was easy to get excited in this kind of atmosphere. At this moment, Ching Chumo was in a state of excitement. This guy had forgotten his purpose of coming here today to freeload. Good, again. Yuchi Baolin was tongue-tied, but she still wanted to continue. Li Zixuan shook his head. He might as well let the 2 of them play to their heart's content. He and Qin Huaiyu started chatting on the side. What is Lord Li doing? Why is it so lively? On the other side of the private room, Mother Meng heard the commotion and couldn't help but ask. Judging from their voices, it seems to be Bao Lin and Huaiyu. They must have come with Sir. Meng Wenhao listened attentively and replied. Yes, it's the young masters of Duke Lu, Duke Yi and Duke Yi. I just saw them over there. Li Yu, who was sitting beside Mother Meng, chimed in. Since he is the son of the Duke, how high is his official rank? Mother Meng had never been to school, nor had she seen much of the world. She thought that the son of the Duke was also a high-ranking official. Mother, they are still studying in the Imperial College. They don't have an official rank, so they can't be considered officials. That's right, Auntie. These young masters from the High Duke's family are Wenhao's classmates. So that's how it is. Little you know so much. No wonder Lord Li accepted you as his disciple. Today, Li Yu is going to be a lady to the end. Her words were appropriate and her actions were generous. Meng Wenhao didn't recognize her anymore. However, this made Meng Wenhao's mother very satisfied. She looked at Li Yu with admiration in her eyes, but there was also a trace of inexplicable meaning. Father Meng was greedily drinking the drunken immortal at the side. He didn't have time to pay attention to their conversation. From the moment he took the first sip of the drunken immortal, he had already forgotten the expensive price of this wine. He also didn't remember that he couldn't bear to drink it just now. The wine and meat passed through his intestines. The spiciness of the white wine and the sweetness of the mountain fruit exploded in Father Meng's taste buds. At that moment, he really felt as comfortable as a deity. No, he wouldn't exchange it for a deity. As for Yaya, she had transformed into a tautai and was sweeping the goods, like a whirlwind sweeping away the clouds. At first, the little girl ate 2 portions of chicken. Her mouth was full of oil and she was very satisfied. There were bits of meat on her face from time to time. Liu, who was beside her, kept wiping her mouth with a handkerchief. After eating 2 servings of chicken, Yaya rubbed her stomach because she felt that she was already half full. She thought about how she told Li Zishuan that she wanted to eat 5 servings of chicken and grow up to be as beautiful as Li Yu in the future. The little girl's eyes flashed with a trace of determination and stubbornness. She started to attack the other 3 servings of chicken. However, the tragedy was that after a while, the waiter came up with 4 more dishes. They were red braised pork, red braised lion's head, dompa pork, and twice cooked pork. Just by smelling the fragrance, Yaya couldn't stand it. When she saw the others eating with relish, she could only eat the chicken at the side and watch helplessly. At this moment, the little girl's heart was filled with grievances. She had only heard people say that the chicken was delicious. Who would have thought that there was something more delicious than the chicken in the drunken immortal restaurant? Your Majesty, do you have something on your mind? Imperial Palace West Court, Empress's bedroom. Empress Zhongsun saw Li Er mechanically eating the food and staring blankly at the table as if there was something rare on the table. She asked with some concern. I was thinking about the telegraph machine I saw a few days ago. Guanyin maid, don't you think that thing is strange? It's just a small iron box. Not only can it make a sound by itself, but it can also transmit the same sound dozens of miles away. It's really amazing. Li Er put down his bowl and chopsticks, sighed, and said, So your Majesty is thinking about this. In fact, I also feel that this thing is quite amazing. Yesterday, when Li Xianan explained the principle of the telegraph machine, I didn't understand it very well. I don't know how this child thought of making this thing. Seeing that Li Er didn't seem to want to eat anymore, Empress Zhongsun took a clean bowl and scooped soup for Li Er while smiling. Hey, this kid! Li Er laughed, took the soup from Zhongsun, and said, I didn't understand much, but I understood the general meaning. From what he said, the reason why this telegraph machine can transmit signals so far is because of the process of electricity generating magnetism, and magnetism generating electricity. I know about magnetism. Isn't it a magnet? But what is this electricity? Is it the thunder and lightning in the sky? Thunder and lightning? The thunder and lightning in the sky, we mortals can also create it? Zhongsun covered her mouth in surprise and said in surprise. Oh, who knows? This brat has too many secrets. Previously, I sent 100 riders to Mount Longhu and asked them to investigate what this brat and spiritual master Ling Su had experienced in the 8 years that they had disappeared, but they didn't find anything. They seemed to have evaporated from the world in those 8 years. In short, this kid is too mysterious. If it weren't for the fact that his family background is clean and he has no ambition, and that Xu Bao and Jijia think highly of him, I would have already killed him. After all, such a person with divine skills and unknown intentions will bring a lot of unknown dangers to the Tang Empire. If his skills are used by the foreign race, then the Tang Empire's situation will be even worse. Li Er said lightly as he drank the soup. He had killed countless people in his life. When he said that he wanted to kill Li Zishuan, there was no change in his expression, as if he was talking about a trivial matter. Your Majesty, from what I see, this child isn't like those evil people. He definitely won't do that kind of thing. Your Majesty, don't do something that will hurt your loved ones and make your enemies happy. It is the blessing of our Tang Empire that this child has such abilities. Chapter 307. Haha, is Maid Guanyin pleading for that kid? In the bedchamber, Li Er asked casually as he leisurely drank his soup after listening to Empress Zhongsun's words. Empress Zhongsun was stunned and said, This. I just don't want to see such a young talent die prematurely. My thoughts are all for the Tang Empire. Ahem, Maid Guanyin, you don't have to be nervous. I just said it casually and don't mean anything else. You and I have been husband and wife for more than a decade. How can I not trust you? Before Empress Zhangsun finished speaking, Li Er saw that something was wrong. He quickly put down the spoon in his mouth and interrupted her. Empress Zhangsun saw that Li Er's words didn't seem to be fake. Her heart warmed as she smiled and said, "Thank you for your trust, Your Majesty." Haha. Li Er smiled and shook his head. Suddenly, he sighed and said, "Since I ascended the throne, I have always promoted talents. Needless to say, Li Zishuan is full of talent. Although his talents don't seem to belong to the mortal world, as long as he doesn't betray the country, I can tolerate him. The Tang Empire can also tolerate him. Now, I am worried about how to arrange for him." Empress Zhangsun blinked her beautiful eyes and asked curiously, "Your Majesty, isn't that child already the youngest official in the history of the Imperial College? Why are you still worried about this?" "You can't say that." Li Er shook his head and said with a complicated expression, "As the saying goes, make the best use of a person's talent. Since I have already decided to put Li Zishuan in an important position, I have to arrange a position for him that allows him to display his talents. But Maid Guanyin, look at the knowledge that kid is good at. Other than mathematics, physics, chemistry, electricity, electromagnetism, and so on. Who in the world has heard of these knowledge? How can the position of an official in the Imperial College allow him to display all that he has learned?" Hearing this, Empress Zhangsun's brows furrowed slightly. She thought for a moment and said, "Your Majesty's consideration is thorough. In that case, Li Zishuan is indeed not suited to stay in the directorate." Li Er rubbed the space between his eyebrows and sighed in annoyance. He is indeed not suitable to stay in the Imperial College, but there is an even more serious problem. This brat has learned many different things. Although we do not know where he learned all this knowledge, we are very sure that he is not from the Confucian school. Thus, even though we clearly know that his knowledge can strengthen the great Tang, we cannot give him too much support. Otherwise, if some of the great Confucians become dissatisfied and stir up trouble among the Confucians, the foundation of the country will be shaken. Empress Zhangsun thought about it in shock and said, "Your Majesty, is it really that serious?" "Of course." Li Er stood up and looked out the door. With his hands behind his back, he said, "Although Li Zishuan is currently teaching mathematics at the Imperial College, the content, methods, and systems that students study have all undergone earth-shattering changes. Moreover, these changes are constantly affecting other schools. He is already using the name of mathematics to develop his new school. No, this is a new study in the guise of mathematics. We are not the only one who has discovered this. Some of the professors at the Imperial College have also discovered this. We have previously heard from Kong Ingda that Cui Shanyu of the Imperial College has already requested to expel Li Zishuan from the Imperial College on the grounds of ruining the academic atmosphere more than once. Although Kong Ingda has sternly refused, it is said that Cui Shanyu has not given up and has the intention of further contacting the other great Confucians of the Imperial College to jointly write a petition. Cui Shanyu? I have heard of this person before. It is said that he is quite proficient in the Confucian classic. I thought that he was a person of profound righteousness, but why is he so unreasonable? Zhangsun nodded and said with some confusion. Profound righteousness? Haha, in the end, these people are just doing it for their own benefits. Li Er sneered and was unwilling to say too much on this topic. He only thought to himself, if we vigorously support Li Zishuan's new study, then I'm afraid that the tens of thousands of Confucian disciples in the world will become the current Cui Shanyu in order to maintain the orthodox position of the Confucian school. Empress Zhangsun was not stupid. She had just not thought of this for a moment. Once Li Er said this, she immediately understood. However, as the Empress, She knew that on this sensitive topic, she could only maintain her silence because the more she spoke, the more likely she would make mistakes. The room was silent for a moment. Lier suddenly smiled and said, "Ha ha, ha ha. Now it seems that we were right to not have Qingqian go to the Imperial College's School of Mathematics to study. Otherwise, there would definitely be more great Confucians who would not be able to sit still right now, right?" When Lier said the words, Great Confucian, he emphasized the syllables. He was probably dissatisfied with some people in his heart. Yes. As the heir to the throne, Qingqian's every action represents His Majesty's attitude. If even he went to the School of Mathematics, the officials would definitely not agree. However, this is also difficult for Qingqian. I heard that not only does he have an extremely good relationship with Li Zixuan, but he is also very interested in Li Zixuan's new mathematics. He has always been studying the textbooks of the School of Mathematics in the Eastern Palace. Today, he is probably still studying the monthly exam papers that the School of Mathematics just went through. In addition, Qingqian would occasionally run to Qingke to ask questions. In this way, the relationship between the two brothers has improved quite a bit. When Empress Zhongsun heard Lier say this, she immediately began to feel sorry for her son. Haha. As the crown prince, he should sacrifice something for this. The problem now is, where should Li Zixuan be placed? Lier first smiled as if it was a matter of course. Then, when he thought of Li Zixuan, he began to frown. Why not ask Li Zixuan for his thoughts, Your Majesty? This child has always had a lot of ideas. I think he will have some ideas. Empress Zhongsun stroked the hair in front of her forehead and said, This is a good idea. Guanin's servant is indeed more intelligent than others. Haha. Lier's eyes flashed with a trace of brilliance as he said excitedly. Eastern Market. Chen's Noodle Shop. Yes, it was the noodle shop that almost cheated Li Yu and Meng Wenhao last time. Tianhua, aren't you too stingy? You're treating me and Fei Chen to a meal at this small noodle shop? In front of the noodle shop, the three only seedlings of Jin Yu Academy were sitting on the stools and waiting for the boss to serve the dishes. Oh no, it was the dishes. Then, Hua Hongyi looked at the terrible surroundings and couldn't help but complain. That's right. Tianhua, you're too unkind. This time, Tang Daily gave you such good conditions. How much money will you earn from writing this novel? Moreover, today is the first time your novel is in the newspaper. It's fine if you don't treat us to Zuatian restaurant to celebrate, but no matter what, you can't come to this broken noodle shop. Liao Feichen also quickly agreed. Chen Tianhua's mouth twitched slightly. Zuatian restaurant? His 1 month's remuneration was probably not even enough for the three of them to have a meal at Zuatian restaurant. Feichen, Hongyi, I haven't received my remuneration yet, right? Tang Daily will only give me this month's remuneration next month. When I get my remuneration, I'll bring you to a good meal, but definitely not at Zuatian restaurant. Moreover, the Yangchun noodles in this noodle shop are not bad either. Chen Tianhua was helpless. Tycoons were always used to be cheated. Dad, that pretty boy with a mole on his face outside called our noodle shop a broken noodle shop. Do you want me to beat him up? Not far away in the kitchen, Giant Baby complained to Boss Chen who was cooking noodles. Are you surprised? Are you surprised? Haha, after the dinner gathering, the swordsmen immediately wrote a chapter to calm themselves down. Therefore, the record of the swordsman for 144 days did not break. Although I'm tired now, I'm still happy. Dear readers, seeing that the swordsmen are working so hard to update, can you come to QQ to read or subscribe to a few chapters on Qidian? Because I found a lot of students who read pirated versions, and some of the pirated versions are very interesting. If there's no author on it, I'll write it at the end, and the pirated readers won't be able to see it. Swordsmen drag their tired bodies to update every day. Don't tell me I can't exchange it for 20 cents a day from you guys? Chapter 308. What are you talking about? Da Bao, don't cause trouble. Boss Chin, who was rolling out noodles, heard his son's silly words. His arm shook and he almost crushed his fingers. He immediately said to Da Bao angrily, ever since Li Zixuan caused trouble in his noodle shop, not only was his business not as good as before, but he was also scared out of his wits by Li Zixuan's martial arts. He used to think that with two giants at home, he didn't have to be afraid of some unruly and evil customers. But Li Zixuan taught him how to be a person through his abnormal martial arts value, so he didn't dare to be as arrogant as before. Oh, Da Bao knows. The giant baby scratched his head. He was somewhat puzzled by his father's attitude, but he didn't dare to continue asking. Outside the noodle shop, Sai, I don't know how my Zhang Xiaohua's biography of a cultivator is received. On the way here, we only heard people talking about a mortal's journey to immortality, but no one talked about my Zhang Xiaohua's biography of a cultivator. Hong Yi Feichen, does this mean that my novel isn't popular? Chen Tianhua saw that Yang Chun's noodles hadn't come up yet. He recalled the scene on the way here and said worriedly, Tianhua, you're simply insatiable. Tang Daily has already given you such a generous reward. Why aren't you satisfied? So what if your novel isn't popular? At most, you'll lose some readers who give you tips. But now, the money that Tang Daily gives you is enough for you to live comfortably. Why do you have to be so stubborn? Liao Feichen didn't realize that he was almost beaten up by the giant baby, because of his cheap mouth. He complained to Chen Tianhua with a speechless face. As he spoke, he suddenly realized something. He slammed the table and shouted, Oh, I understand, Tianhua, you want to compete with A Mortal's Journey to Immortality, right? Why bother? Our two novels are both imitating A Mortal's Journey to Immortality. It's very difficult to compare with it. Let's just focus on writing our own novel. Hearing this, Chen Tianhua's face was full of awkwardness. In his heart, he didn't want to surpass A Mortal's Journey, but he more or less hoped that his novel would be like A Mortal's Journey and receive the support and rewards of many readers. Tianhua, you've only released 3 chapters of your novel today. How could someone reward you so quickly? Even when The Legend of A Mortal's Journey to Immortality was first published in the newspapers, no one took it seriously either. For something like a novel, without a long period of accumulation, it was impossible to produce results. You need to calm down and write slowly. You can't rush it, or it will affect the quality of your work. Hua Hongyi was a mature and steady person. He hit the nail on the head and pointed out the crux of the problem. Brother Hong Yi is right. I've gone too far. Thank you, Hong Yi, for enlightening me. Hua Hongyi's words were like a wake-up call to Chen Tianhua. Chen Tianhua was stunned for a moment, then reacted. He cupped his hands and thanked Hua Hongyi. Yang Chun noodles are here. Please enjoy your meal. Boss Chen brought out 3 bowls of Yang Chun noodles on a tray and bowed to Hua Hongyi and the other 2 with a smile. Haha, let's eat noodles. No matter what, thank you for your hospitality today, Tianhua. Hua Hongyi laughed. Yes. Let's eat noodles, hiss. This restaurant's Yang Chun egg noodles are so delicious. Liao Feichen was already starving. He cheered, picked up his chopsticks and started eating. Chen Tianhua smiled helplessly. He wasn't in the mood to eat noodles now. He wanted to go back and write his novel in peace. I'm not drunk, let me drink another cup this immortal drunk, is really good wine. Burp. Good wine. Drunken immortal restaurant. The banquet was over. Everyone was full, especially Yaya. The little girl was rubbing her stomach in pain. As for Father Meng, he was drunk and was throwing a tantrum. You're already so drunk and you're still not drunk? I told you to drink less, but you didn't listen. Come, get up, let's go home. Mother Meng pulled Father Meng's arm and shouted angrily. Auntie, Why don't I hire a carriage to send Uncle Meng back? After all, Drunken Immortal Restaurant is quite far from Guyi Lane. After this banquet, Liu had become very familiar with Meng Wenhao's family. She quickly suggested. This, Mother Meng hesitated. Hiring a carriage would cost a lot of money. Haha, there's no need to hire a carriage. Drunken Immortal Restaurant has its own carriage. I'll ask Boss Lu to send someone to send you back later. At this time, Li Zixuan walked in with a smile. The banquet was over. Qin Huayu had already left with the drunk Qing Chumo and Yuqi Baolin in the carriage. Thank you, Lord Zhu. Mother Meng was surprised and happy at the same time. She thought to herself that Meng Hao's teacher was not only kind, but also considerate of others. No wonder he could reach such a high position at such a young age. This kind of cultivation was not something that ordinary people like us could have. Thank you, sir. Meng Wenhao also came over and thanked him sincerely. Today was the happiest day of his life. Through his own efforts, he had finally brought his family to Drunken Immortal Restaurant. Furthermore, his family had received the respect that they deserve. He was now grateful to Li Zixuan from the bottom of his heart. Well, Wenhao, now that your wish has been fulfilled, you have to focus on your studies. As your teacher, I look forward to you getting first place in the next monthly exam. Li Zixuan patted Meng Wenhao's shoulder and smiled. I won't disappoint you, sir. Meng Wenhao replied confidently. Hee good. Wenhao, go find Boss Lu and ask him to arrange a carriage. Yes, sir. Meng Wenhao replied with a smile and went out. Little Yu, isn't it time for you to go back to the workshop? If you don't go back now, Steward Ma will probably come and ask me for you. Li Zixuan looked at the mischievous Li Yu and smiled. At the same time, he secretly felt that it was a pity that there were no televisions or cameras in this era. Otherwise, he really wanted to cultivate Li Yu into a little child star. Because of Li Yu's sweet appearance and her unrestrained and mischievous personality, it would be a pity if she did not become a star. Then I'll take Sir's carriage on the way. Li Yu stuck out her tongue and smiled mischievously. Drunken Immortal Restaurant was in the northwest of Chang'an City. Strange Interest Pavilion was in the northeast of Chang'an City. If she did not borrow a carriage, she would probably have to walk for a long time. Anyway, there was a free ride, why not take it? Alright, let's go then. Li Zixuan smiled and turned to say goodbye to Mother Meng and Ye. Then, he left with Li Yu. Chapter 309. Lord Zhu. Lord Zhu. His Majesty has decreed for you to enter the palace immediately for an audience. Li Zixuan's carriage had just entered Yongla Lane when a servant from the yellow door chased after him. San Bao, who was driving the carriage, hurriedly stopped Big White. Li Zixuan's heart skipped a beat. Could it be that Li Er had discovered that he had been idling around for the past 2 days? Was he here to settle scores with him? Oldly wouldn't be so petty, right? He lifted the curtains and jumped off the carriage. The servant from the yellow door also hurriedly got off his horse. Little eunuch, may I know why His Majesty is looking for me? Li Zixuan discreetly stuffed a few golden beans into the servant's mouth, and asked with a smile. The earlier he knew Li Er's intentions, the earlier he could prepare. Lord Zhu, I don't dare to accept this. Please take it back. I'm only here to pass on a message. I don't know why His Majesty is summoning you. It seemed like this was the first time the imperial eunuch had been sent out. He didn't even dare to take advantage of the situation. Li Zixuan smiled and didn't force him. He said, then please wait for a moment. I'll go back and change into my official uniform. I'll follow you into the palace. He was here to dine with his good brother today. Of course, he wouldn't wear his official uniform like a lunatic. Besides, his light scarlet official uniform wasn't very nice. Why should he wear it? However, it was still necessary to wear it to meet Li Er in the palace. His Majesty specifically said that Lord Zhu can enter the palace immediately without changing into your official uniform. The servant from the yellow door added. Li Zishuan was speechless. Li Er was in a hurry to be reincarnated. Of course, he only dared to say that in his heart. He couldn't say it out loud. Then I'll follow you into the palace. Then, he turned to look at San Bao and instructed, San Bao, send little Yer to the workshop and go straight home. Yes, young master. San Bao responded and hurried Big White toward and Elaine. Let's go. Li Zishuan turned around and said a few words before following the small yellow door to the Imperial Palace. The distance between Yongla Lane and the Imperial Palace was not far, only about 3 to 4 li. Li Zishuan arrived outside the walls of the Imperial Palace in a short while. The little yellow gate led Li Zishuan through the Gate of Heaven. He passed through the Garter Gate, the Tai Chi Gate, the Zhuming Gate, the Yin and Yang Gate, and the Sweet Dew Gate. He went straight to the Sweet Dew Hall. Unlike the previous summons, Li Er chose to summon him at the Sweet Dew Hall. Li Zishuan was no longer a novice when he first entered the officialdom. He had crammed in a lot of basic knowledge about officialdom. Naturally, he knew that the emperor usually summoned his officials to the Taiji Palace or the Yin and Yang Palace. The Ganlu Palace was where Li Er studied in the inner palace and was rarely used to summon his officials. It seemed like Li Er wasn't looking for him for some trivial matter. The little yellow gate went in alone to announce the reply. Li Zishuan stood in the corridor outside the hall, waiting for the news. After a while, he heard a sharp voice from inside. Summon the Prince of Lantian County, Minister of the Imperial College, Li Zishuan for an audience. Hearing this, Li Zishuan anxiously walked in with small step. The Sweet Dew Hall looked very simple, but every table, chair, table, and stool in the hall was decorated with ingenious ingenuity. The furnace in the room was burning with spices. Li Zishuan smelled it, but he couldn't tell what brand the spices were. Li Er sat upright on the dragon throne, wearing a bright yellow dragon robe. He didn't wear the sky-reaching crown that he wore during morning court. Instead, he used a purple and gold crown to tie up his hair. Li Er probably felt that the sky-reaching crown was too heavy. Li Zishuan silently criticized him. Greetings, Your Majesty. When Li Zishuan walked in, Li Er was holding a book and reading it with great interest. It was as if he didn't notice that someone had walked in. Li Zishuan didn't care if Li Er really didn't see him or if he was pretending. He went forward and bowed. He guessed that Li Er was most likely pretending. Leaders all liked to pretend to be deep. Li Zishuan expressed that he understood, but he didn't want to play along with Li Er. He wanted to finish his work quickly and go home. Rise. Have a seat. When Li Er heard the voice, he put down his book and raised his head. Of course, he was reading seriously just now. He wasn't pretending to be deep like Li Zishuan thought. He wasn't that bored. The fact that Li Er was able to succeed in the governance of Zhenguan was inseparable from his humility and diligence. Thank you, Your Majesty. Li Zishuan was happy. Since he came in and had a seat, didn't that mean that Li Er wouldn't make things difficult for him today? 3 days ago, I asked you to hurry up and think of a way to improve the telegraph. How was it? How's the progress now? Li Zishuan had just sat down when Li Er asked. Li Zishuan shouted in his heart. It turned out that he was thinking too much just now. Your Majesty, there's no progress. Li Zishuan wanted to fool him, but he couldn't fool him. Old Li had too many spies under him. He might have already known. Even though Li Er already knew the result, when he heard Li Zishuan's reply, he couldn't help but get angry. Are you taking my words as a joke? Li Zishuan heard Li Er raise his voice by an octave and knew that Old Li was a little angry. However, he was already mentally prepared. Your Majesty, that's not the case. With the current technology of Tang Dynasty, 20 to 30 li is the maximum distance that the telegraph can transmit. If we want to break through this limit, we need to create a new device, The triode. It can amplify the signal from the telegraph so that it can be transmitted further. However, the triode requires two new materials that I haven't found yet. Even if I find them, with the current technology of Tang Dynasty, it's very difficult to create them. On the other hand, regarding the problem of power supply, the power source that I currently use can only supply power on a small scale. If I want to achieve a large-scale power supply, I need to build a large generator and a container to store the power. I also need to build a huge power transmission line. To do this, in addition to a huge amount of financial and material resources, the most important thing is that I need a group of corresponding talent. Otherwise, I won't be able to do it alone. When Li Zixuan decided to quit, he already knew that he would be questioned by Li Er. He also had a draft of the relevant excuses. At this moment, he spoke one set of words after another. It seemed like he was really serious. Li Zixuan was a little confused by Li Zixuan's words. Although Li Zixuan had already said it more straightforwardly, he didn't know what the triode, generator, container to store the power, and so on were new terms. However, it still sounded very professional. Li Er frowned and thought for a while. He said, "What you said is not unreasonable. Let's not talk about this for now. I have another matter to discuss with you today." Chapter 310. We have another matter to discuss with you today. In the sweet dew hall. Hearing this, Li Zixuan's spirits were suddenly lifted. He thought to himself, here comes the main topic. The things before should be just the appetizer. Otherwise, Li Er wouldn't have called him here to talk. Here, take a look at this memorial first. Li Er pulled out a yellow memorial from the dragon table in front of him. Zhao Song hurriedly took it and handed it to Li Zixuan. Li Zixuan didn't know what Li Er was up to. He opened the memorial and started reading. He skipped the routine at the beginning and went straight to the main body. Today, this subject, Cui Shanyu, together with 7 professors from the Imperial Academy, and the 4 Gates Academies, will jointly impeach Li Zixuan, the Secretary of the Imperial Academy, for corrupting the academic atmosphere of the Imperial Academy, disrupting the teaching order of the Imperial Academy, and privately spreading and teaching miscellaneous studies. Your subjects do not deny that Li Sai has brought some positive changes to the Imperial College since he joined, such as the blackboard and chalk. However, merits are merits, and demerits are demerit. Li Sai privately changed the teaching schedule, and even proposed a 2-day break for every 5 days. This greatly affected the enthusiasm of the students in the other academies. Your subjects believe that Li Sai is using the excuse of giving the students a break to slack off. Such behavior is indeed unbecoming of a teacher. Your subjects are ashamed to work with such a lazy person. Your subjects also believe that the opinion proposed by Li Sai is inappropriate. Since the 3 sovereigns and 5 emperors, Chinese characters have been passed down for more than 1,000 years. From the Shang dynasty's oracle bone inscriptions to the Qin dynasty's Xiao Zhuan script, the Han dynasty's Zhenkai script, and the standard handwriting of our dynasty, Zhenkai script. It has gone through dozens of forms, but most of them are derived from hieroglyphic. The pinyin proposed by Li Sai has a strange shape and definitely doesn't originate from the Central Plains. Your subjects believe that the Chinese language is broad and profound. How can it be labeled with symbols from a foreign land? Li Sai's actions are an insult to the ancestors of our country and are destroying the foundation of our great Tang. If we allow pinyin to be popularized, we Confucians will become sinners for all eternity. This subject earnestly requests Your Majesty to immediately stop Li Sai from running amok. In addition, this subject has heard that Li Sai often imparted miscellaneous knowledge to the students, both in and out of class. His Royal Highness, Prince of Wei, has also been poisoned by this. This subject is deeply saddened. The King of Wei is a disciple of the imperial family. If he doesn't bathe in the holy light of the Confucian Tao, Why would he learn the unorthodox Tao? Li Sai is trying to shake the foundation of the country. We ask your majesty to punish him severely. Such a morally corrupt person simply doesn't have the right to hold the post of secretary of the Imperial College. I hope that your majesty can quickly choose someone more worthy. Otherwise, my great Tang's holy land of talents will quickly become a place of filth and corruption because of Li Sai alone. Your subjects Cui Shanyu, Zhu Qinglu, Sima Minglang, Gu Fengyan, Shangguan Yufeng, Lu Yenyu, Zheng Zhanli, and Sikong Linghao respectfully greet you. I implore your majesty to make a decision as soon as possible. Don't tolerate and nurture evil, and return the Imperial College to its former glory. F***ck your mother. This old thief has gone too far. The more Li Zishuan read, the angrier he got. Cui Shanyu's memorial was simply too infuriating. Li Zishuan's true energy was in a mess from his anger. His long hair was fluttering even though there was no wind. This was caused by the uncontrollable flow of true energy from his body. His eyes were also a little red. After transmigrating for so long, this was the first time he had been angered to such an extent. Cui Shanyu's memorial completely described him as a piece of dog **t, a black sheep, a cultured scum, and a treacherous subject of the country. At this moment, Li Zishuan no longer cared about where he was. He threw the memorial to the ground with all his might and cursed loudly. But he still wasn't done venting his anger. He went up and stomped on it twice more, 233, 3333. When Zhao Song saw Li Zishuan's furious look, he immediately circulated his true energy and secretly raised his guard. Bam! How dare you! You impudent brat! Li Er's eyes widened. He didn't think that there would be someone who dared to swear in front of him, and even stomped on his memorial in front of him. Li Zishuan's guts were really too big. After a while, Li Er reacted. He slammed the table and shouted angrily. When Li Zishuan was reading the memorial, he had been observing Li Zishuan's expression. He knew that Li Zishuan would be very angry after reading this memorial, but he didn't expect him to lose his composure like this. Actually, the appearance of this memorial was also greatly beyond Li Er's expectations. During lunch, he was still telling Zhang Sun about Cui Shanyu's secret opinion of Li Zishuan. That was what Kong Yingda told him, but this second-hand news was still lagging behind. He had just received Cui Shanyu's first move, and Cui Shanyu had already joined forces with 7 other professors to submit a joint memorial. Although Li Er's own position was slightly biased towards Li Zishuan's side, he couldn't ignore this memorial. This was because this was an impeachment case. Cui Shanyu's memorial this time didn't even go through Kong Yingda. He directly sent it to the palace in the form of a secret memorial. In addition, there were too many people involved in this joint impeachment. There were only 15 people in total from the Imperial Academy, the Imperial College, and the 4 great academies, and 8 of them were on this memorial. If it was not handled properly, it would definitely cause a commotion. Your Majesty, please calm down. I was too angry and lost my composure in front of you. Please calm down, Your Majesty. Li Er's shout caused Li Zishuan to quickly come to his senses. He looked around and remembered that he was still in the Sweet Nectar Hall. He quickly went forward and cupped his hands in apology. Humph! You're getting bolder and bolder. Ever since I ascended the throne, no one has dared to be so impudent in this palace. Li Er pointed at Li Zishuan and said angrily, Your Majesty, you can't blame me for this. With a bitter face, Li Zishuan explained, Old dog Cui, I mean Professor Cui's memorial is completely distorting the facts. He wants to pull me down from my position so that he can take over the Imperial College. This old dog, this person is sinister and cunning. His intentions are really vicious. He sees that I am talented and knowledgeable in both ancient and modern times. Moreover, I have attracted many students to transfer from the Imperial College to the Institute of Mathematics and Mathematics with my charisma. Therefore, he is jealous of me and intends to use such a despicable method to frame a loyal and good person. He wants to make a talent of Tang like me be wrongly imprisoned so that he can achieve his dirty goal. He doesn't know that your Majesty is wise and wise. Your eyes can see through all the darkness of time. How can you be fooled by such petty tricks? Therefore, any schemes and machinations will be useless in the face of His Majesty. Shut up. As Li Er listened, he couldn't take it anymore. Li Zishuan could be shameless, but he couldn't be shameless. At this moment, he really wanted to say to Li Zishuan, "Will you die if you don't brag?" I'll shut up, shut up. Your Majesty, please calm down." Li Zishuan laughed dryly. In fact, he said this on purpose. His previous behavior was, strictly speaking, punishable. After such a farce, old Li would definitely forget about it. He could also use this time to think about how to refute Cui Shanyou's memorial. Since Li Er called him here in private today and didn't interrogate him in the imperial court, it meant that even if Li Er wasn't on his side, he was still taking care of him. In this way, at least he had a chance to defend himself. Haha, I'm very smart, right? Li Zishuan thought proudly. Third update. Haha, I still managed to finish it before midnight. The temperature difference between the indoor and outdoor is too big. Swordsmen catch a cold. Their noses are stuffed, and their hearts are even more stuffed. Please support me with a genuine subscription. I don't have anything to eat. Chapter 3:11. Heh. Since you say that Cui Shanyu, Lu Yenyu, Jing Zhanli, Sikong Linghao, and the other professors are slandering you, do you have any evidence? Ganlu Hall. Li Er leaned back and looked at Li Zishuan sternly. Li Zishuan's previous thoughts were indeed correct. Regarding this matter, Li Er indeed had the intention of opening a back door for Li Zishuan. Calling Li Zishuan over for questioning today more or less had the intention of practicing in advance. Your Majesty, this matter doesn't require any evidence. Do you have any evidence for the 3 crimes that Cui Shanyu and the other professors have accused me of? They were just using their own opinions to judge whether I was guilty or not. Could they possibly represent the students of the Imperial College? Can they represent the millions of people of the great Tang Empire? As the saying goes, justice is in the hearts of the people. If they convict me based on their words alone, then I won't accept it. Firstly, Cui Shanyu accused me of implementing a 2-day break system in the School of Mathematics after 5 days of classes. He also thought that I was using the excuse of a break to slack off. I just want to say that it's bullsh*t. All of the above are just his personal conjectures. Did he investigate beforehand? How did he know that I was slacking off? The break system that I set doesn't contain any selfishness. Ever since I took over the School of Mathematics, the students' homework has become increasingly heavy. Coupled with the exam reward and punishment system that I set, the pressure on the students has also increased. If they can't strike a balance between work and rest, their learning efficiency will greatly decrease. Although compared to the other schools, the School of Mathematics usually has a lot more holidays, but this official dares to say that in terms of academic pressure and academic performance, the students of the School of Mathematics definitely won't lose to the other 5 schools. If anyone is unconvinced, they can come out and compete. If they lose, this official is willing to accept this crime. Li Zishuan said heroically. Heh! What arrogance! I know that you are proficient in mathematics, but that doesn't mean that the students of the School of Mathematics are also proficient. Why are you so confident? Li Er couldn't help but laugh and interrupt. Of course. As the saying goes, great teachers produce great students. Like teachers, like students. I have absolute confidence in my students. Li Zishuan raised his chin and said affirmatively. Li Er was speechless. If he could, He really wanted to spit tea all over Li Zishuan's face. How could the saying "great teachers produce great students" be used in such a way? Secondly, regarding pinyin, when pinyin was first introduced, His Majesty, Kong Jijiu, and all the important officials in the imperial court unanimously approved it. Why didn't Cui Shanyu and the others jump out to oppose it? This old dog only knows how to bully the weak and fear the strong. Does he think that I'm a pushover? In the Imperial College's actions was the great Tang Empire's, is the Tang Empire's Tang's the Foundation Empire's will. If pinyin is successfully popularized, we Confucians will become sinners for all eternity. Thus, Li Zishuan felt a wave of anger rush to his head, and vulgarities involuntarily escaped from his mouth. He had probably used more profanity today than he had in the past 20 years. Speak. If we hear any more obscenities, we will have you thrown out. Li Er frowned when he heard this, and could not help but scold him. Cough cough, Your Majesty, please forgive me. Let's continue with pinyin. After interacting with Li Er for a long time and grasping his temper, Li Zishuan was no longer as afraid as he was in the beginning. Although Old Li liked to trick people, as long as they didn't commit crimes of principle like treason, Old Li wouldn't chop off people's heads. He wasn't like the Braid Dynasty, 1,000 years later, where they often held literary trials and had to be careful with their words. The benefits of pinyin are obvious. It will allow our great Tang to have thousands upon thousands of people who can read and write. It will definitely be a blessing to the poor. This subject believes that Cui Shanyu and the others must have ulterior motives for objecting in such a hurry. They are afraid that once there are more scholars, they will lose their sense of superiority. This subject has every reason to suspect that Cui Shanyu and the others are lackeys sent by the noble clans to obstruct the imperial court's education. I hope that Your Majesty will investigate this. Li Zishuan smiled sinisterly and began to paint Cui Shanyu and the others in the eye in front of Li Er. He knew that Li Er had the intention to attack the noble clans, so it was a good opportunity to have two appetizers. Among the 8 professors who impeached him, there were those with the surname Cui, Lu, and Zheng. He didn't know if these people were related to the 5 surnames and 7 hope. In any case, even if they weren't related, this young master wanted to be related to them. Who asked you to stab this young master in the back? If I don't take revenge, I'm not human. As expected, Li Er's expression gradually turned serious when he heard this, but he didn't say anything in the end. Li Zishuan was slightly disappointed and could only continue. Regarding Cui Shanyu's words about pinyin being like a foreign language, this subject has something to say. First of all, Cui Shanyu's words have no proof. Since he said that pinyin is a foreign language, then he has to show proof and let everyone see which foreign language pinyin is from. Secondly, so what if pinyin is a foreign language? As long as it can allow more people to become literate and make our great Tang stronger, then it is a useful language. If our great Tang wants to stand at the top of the world, then we must learn to be tolerant. Take the strengths of others and make up for our own shortcomings. Only by being tolerant can we become the strongest great Tang. If my great Tang wishes to stand at the peak of all countries, it must learn to be tolerant, to take the strong points of others and make up for our weak points. Only by being tolerant can the great Tang become the strongest and most prosperous. Li Er's expression froze. He couldn't help but repeat Li Zishuan's words to himself. He asked Li Zishuan to come over today just to hear what Li Zishuan would say about Cui Shanyu's impeachment. He never expected to hear such a warning that made his heart surge with emotion and even made his blood boil. He was really touched. If our great Tang wants to stand at the top of the world, then we didn't expect you to understand such a principle of life, as expected of the disciple of an otherworldly expert. Li Er looked at Li Zishuan and praised with a complicated expression. Nanny? Didn't the Tang Dynasty have these 2 sentences? Li Zishuan was dumbfounded. He thought that these two sentences were some ancient proverb, but from Li Er's words, it didn't seem to be the case. Well, he had unintentionally acted cool in front of old Li again. If our great Tang wants to stand at the top of the world, then we must be tolerant. These 8 words were like a self-encouraging couplet by the national hero Lin Zexu. If our great Tang wants to stand at the top of the world, then we must be tolerant. Your Majesty is too kind. Then let me continue with the third crime of Cui Shanyo's impeachment, miscellaneous studies. The feeling of acting cool was naturally great. Li Zishuan felt as if he was possessed by Zhuge Liang. He was about to engage in a war of words and unleash a wave of AoE damage that ignored all skills. There's no need to say any more. It's enough that you know about Cui Shanyo's impeachment. As for how to deal with it, I have my own plans. Go back and do some self-reflection. Tomorrow morning, there will be a verdict on your matter. Come to the court when the time comes. All right, if there's nothing else, you may leave. Li Er's mind was no longer on this matter. He waved his hand absent-mindedly, as if he was shooing away a fly, telling Li Zishuan to leave quickly. Li Zishuan was speechless. He was in the middle of talking, but old Li was too deceitful. This was like taking off one's pants and telling a girl that her period was here. Then I shall take my leave. Li Zishuan had no choice but to cup his hands and leave. Chapter 312. He was impeached for no reason, and he had to attend the morning assembly tomorrow. He was just sitting at home, and trouble came from the sky. F*ck that old dog Cui. You've gone too far, damn. I'm going to kick you to death. Li Zishuan was getting angrier and angrier as he wandered along the street. He kicked everything he saw. Luckily, there weren't many people around. Otherwise, he wouldn't have felt good. Young master, you're back. San Bao was the first to welcome him when he reached the door. Have you sent Li Yu over? Li Zishuan nodded and asked casually. Replying to young master, it has been delivered. That's good. Li Zishuan waved his hand and was about to return to the house. Suddenly, he stopped in his tracks and waved at San Bao. San Bao, come here. Young master has something to tell you. Hey! Young master, please tell me. When San Bao heard this, she hurriedly ran over excitedly and said, You go. Hey, come in, come in. As soon as Li Zishuan opened his mouth, he realized that something was amiss. He hurriedly brought San Bao into the manor. Thus, the servants of the Li residence saw this scene from afar. Their young master was sneakily discussing something with the servants of the manor under the large locust tree in the front courtyard. One of them was babbling non-stop, gesturing with his hands as he spoke. The other had his eyes wide open with a completely dumbfounded expression. Do you understand? Ah? Young master, isn't this too wicked? Wicked your head. Do you still want your job? Young master, please calm down. I'll go now. But if someone finds out, I'm afraid it'll be hard to explain to old master. Are you King Pig? I didn't ask you to go personally. Don't you know how to cover your face and secretly hire a few people to help you recruit people? Yes, young master is right. I'll go now. Wait, I haven't paid you yet. Where are you going? You brat, your brain isn't working so well today. Go to Butler Wang and give him 100 strings of coins. If it's not enough, there's more. Ah? Young master, why do you need so much? 10 strings of coins is enough. San Bao almost knelt down as he said bitterly. What do you know? The more money there is, the bigger the matter will be, and the happier I will be. This young master doesn't lack money. If you do a good job, you will be heavily rewarded. Hurry up and go. Li Zishuan slapped the back of San Bao's head and said in annoyance. This lackey of his was not good enough. He was too honest and not arrogant enough. It did not suit his status. Yes, young master. I will go immediately. When Sanbao saw that his young master was getting impatient, he didn't dare to hesitate any longer. He quickly ran off like a rabbit. He cherished his status as Li Zishuan's #1 lackey very much. Cough, cough. What are you looking at? Get to work. Li Zishuan scolded angrily when he saw the servants and maids in the distance looking at them with gossipy expressions. Immediately, the servants and maids scattered in all directions. The next day, 4:45, 4:15 a.m. Some people were still asleep, while others had already woken up. The only people who had woken up so early were the peddlers and the ministers who were rushing to attend the morning court. Thus, from this point of view, the officials of the imperial court had something in common with the common people, and that was that they all needed to wake up early. However, today was a little different. Because the fleet heading south was about to depart in the morning court was pushed back. All officials of the 5th rank and above had to go together to the docks on Murky Island in the eastern suburbs of Chang, and to send off the army. Madam, you can buy more meat in the future. We won't have to live such a poor life anymore. Ha ha. Shengye Feng. In a shabby and narrow courtyard, Cui Shanyu was drinking porridge and eating vegetables as he spoke to the middle-aged woman in linen clothes in dissatisfaction. Master, you're not talking nonsense, right? With your little salary, how can our family afford to buy meat? The woman in linen clothes said with a strange expression. Haha, short-sighted. It won't be long before this old man can return to the family. By then, what can we not have? Cui Shanyu laughed proudly. What? Master, are you telling the truth? The woman in linen clothes raised her voice by an octave. She was extremely excited and even used master. It was obvious that she cared a lot about her family identity. Of course. I can't tell you the specifics now. You'll know after a while. Yes, yes. Come, master, eat more. Madam, I'll go to Murky Island now. Today, His Majesty specially summoned me to attend the morning court, so I may be back later. You can have lunch first. Don't wait for me. Cui Shanyu finished his breakfast happily and was ready to go out. Of course, he didn't mean that the food was delicious, but that he had gained respect from his wife and could finally straighten his back. Okay, master, take care. The woman in linen clothes said quickly. Haha, silly tiger, let's go. To Murky Island. Cui Shanyu waved his hand in high spirits and was ready to go out with a hunchbacked young man. With Cui Shanyu's poor appearance, how could he afford to buy a horse and carriage? That was why he woke up early today, because the journey was long and he had to leave early. Ouch! Cui Shanyu pushed open the shabby courtyard door and took a step out. He almost slipped out of the door. Master, hee, what's wrong with you? The young man named Silly Tiger seemed to have something wrong with his brain. His master was in trouble, but this idiot could still laugh foolishly. He really didn't know how many episodes he could survive. I think I stepped on something soft. Silly Tiger, help me take a look. My eyesight is not very good. Oh, my other foot stepped on something too. Cui Shanyu didn't care about Silly Tiger's untimely laughter. Perhaps he was already used to it. It's just that he moved around like this, and his other foot immediately stepped on something soft. At this moment, the sky was just beginning to brighten. He was old and dizzy, so naturally, he couldn't see anything clearly. He could only ask Silly Tiger for help. Hee, master, I'll help you take a look. Silly Tiger chuckled and quickly ran over. Hurry up and look, what did you step on? Could it be a poisonous snake? Speaking of this, Cui Shanyu immediately broke out in a cold sweat. Even a big man would be afraid of snakes. Hee, no, master, you stepped on shit. He stepped on shit. Shit. Hee, your mother. Cui Shanyu's face was full of Sparta. Even though he was used to Silly Tiger's way of speaking at this moment, he still felt that the word hee was extremely harsh. Preposterous. Preposterous. Under the feet of the emperor, Someone actually dares to pour such filth in front of my door. It's really outrageous. Chui Shanyu was trembling with anger, and his beard was almost sticking up. No one could stand a pile of shit in front of their door. However, what was even more unbearable for him was yet to come. Master, this isn't someone's feces, it's someone's feces. Look, it's still warm. It was still warm. Still. Of wah. It was no wonder that Chui Shanyo's mental fortitude was weak. The scene was just too King strong. Chui Shanyu could no longer hold it in. He ran to the corner of the wall and began to vomit. However, as he ran, he inevitably stepped on a few more piles of feces. Master, what's wrong? I'm not done yet. I can see that this shit is from a child. Look, how thin are these strands of feces? Blurred. Shut up. Ugh. Holy shit, I've unknowingly written 700,000 words. Most importantly, I've written so many words, but there's no eunuch at all. This was too rare. Isn't everyone going to subscribe 2 chapters to support me? If very few people read the original version, it's easy for me to get castrated. Piracy was the main reason why there were so many eunuch books. I hope everyone can come and read or support Qigyan. Chapter 313. Chui Shanyu awkwardly returned home and changed into a new pair of shoes. He did not even bother to take a shower. He hurriedly held the lantern, bypassed the countless landmines in front of the door, and with a faintly discernible smell of feces, he headed towards Chang and East City Gate. As for where the landmines in front of the door came from, he did not have the time to investigate. He thought that when he came back from the morning court, he would find the people from Wu Ho government and let them investigate. If I find out who is so wicked, I will definitely teach you a lesson, Chui Shanyu thought bitterly in his heart. Oh, that's great. Haha. Now I can have money to buy candy to eat. In the small alley to the west of Chui Shanyu's house, there were actually 40 or so half-grown children gathered. Among them was a big boy with a bare upper body. When he saw that Chui Shanyu and his servant had disappeared, he jumped up excitedly and made a big fuss. Haha, just now old man Chui stepped on my poop. This time Xiao Wu can get an extra 100 coins of reward? A 6 or 7-year-old boy wearing rags and a bun on his head pulled the slightly older boy and asked, Xiao Wu, the sky is so dark, how can you see clearly? The big boy depressingly asked. Of course I can see clearly. If Big Brother Chi Nu doesn't believe me, you can go and take a look. Xiao left a mark beside Zhao's papa. That place is half a step away from the door. Xiao specially chose that place. That old man must have stepped on it. When the little boy called Xiao Wu heard that the big boy did not believe him, he anxiously wanted to pull him closer to check. Wu, let go. We will wait here for Brother Biaozi to come. We will talk when he comes. The big boy quickly pulled his hand away. He was not willing to suffer in that stinky minefield. Brother Biaozi is here. Brother Biaozi is here. Suddenly there were 2 surprised voices among the children. Then the crowd automatically separated into 2 sides. A bare-chested burly man walked over with 2 rascally-looking young men. Hello, Brother Biaozi. Hello, Brother Biaozi. More than 40 children bowed and greeted the burly man in unison. It looked as if the burly man was leading a group of children to mingle in the pugilistic world. It was quite comical. Not bad, not bad. I saw it from the side just now. You all did well. I Biaozi always keep my word. I won't cheat you of your money. Here, 200 copper coins per person. Let old man Chui step on the doll and give an extra 100 copper coins. Lin Lauer, give out the money. Brother Biaozi put his hands on his waist and shouted with a rough voice. Yes, boss. One of the lackeys hurriedly replied. Thank you, Brother Biao. Thank you, Brother Biao. When the little brats heard that they were really going to get money, they were so excited that they almost jumped up. Quiet, quiet. Don't provoke others. Biaozi hurriedly roared and continued, Today, when you go back, all of you save your energy to eat as much as you can for me. If you want to shit, hold it in for me. Tomorrow morning, we will come to Old Man Chui's place to shit again. When the time comes, the price will still be the same. Is everyone clear? Understood. When they heard that they could earn another portion of money tomorrow, the children hurriedly agreed. They only needed to pay a lump of shit, and they could earn a few hundred copper coins. If they did not agree to such a good deal, was there something wrong with their heads? The same thing happened at the other corners of Chang and City at the same time. Zhu Qinglu, Sima Minglang, Gu Fengyan, Shangguan Yufeng, Lu Yenyu, Zheng Zhanli, Xikong Linghao, the 7 directorate professors who had submitted a petition to impeach Li Zishuan with Cui Shanyu, without exception, all of them suffered and glided. The 9 heavens gate opens its palace and tens of thousands of countries pay their respects to the crown. Chang and City was located on the banks of the Wei River and the northern foot of the Qinling Mountains. In the planning process of Chang and City, the concept of the unity of man and nature was included. There were no rivers in Chang and City. There were only canals that connected the city and the suburbs, as well as man-made or natural ponds, such as the Tsujiang Pond. Outside of Chang and City, there were 8 rivers: Wei, Jing, Feng, Du, Bai, and Ba River. This was what people often called the 8 rivers around Chang'an. Hence, in terms of transportation, Chang'an City was the capital of the empire. Whether it was water or land transportation, it was extremely developed. The Ba River originated from Lantian County, located to the east of Chang'an City. On both sides of the Ba Bridge, there were 5 miles of embankment. Tens of thousands of willows were planted, and tourists walked shoulder to shoulder. It was a spectacular sight. Every spring, when the spring wind blew, the willows would dance in the air, creating a hazy mist. It became a major sight on the Ba Bridge of Chang'an. There was a pier on the Ba River as well as a relay station. It was called the Ba Pavilion. Many people would come here to welcome and send off guests, saying their goodbyes and breaking off willow branches as gift. Li Zishuan had arrived at the Ba River early in the morning. He was speechless at Li Er. Why did he have to make it such that all officials of the 5th rank and above had to come to the Ba River to send off the army? Wasn't it good to just send those of the 5th rank and above? Li Zishuan felt that he was being targeted. Alas, a good 2-day break had gone down just like that. Should he suggest to Li Er one day to bring the 2-day break system to the imperial court? After all, the government workers in his previous life also needed to rest on weekends. Haha, I haven't seen you in a long time. Old Ching, didn't look for you. Don't you know how to take the time to greet me? Suddenly, a huge force came from his shoulder. If Li Zishuan's lower body was not stable, he would have been slapped into the river. There was no need to look. Only Great Demon King Ching would do such a thing. Uncle Ching, you're right. I didn't think it through. I'll invite you and Uncle Qin to my residence for a drink some other day. Li Zishuan was quite helpless towards this crazy and disrespectful Qing Yaojin, so he could only follow his words and say, Hey, there's no need for another day. You're about to get married. When the time comes, Old Ching, will go to your house for a big meal. Haha, you're not allowed to keep anything to yourself. You have to bring all the good wine and dishes for me. Qing Yaojin patted Li Zishuan's shoulder and laughed. Jijia, how can you be an elder like this? Qin Xiong couldn't help but frown. Hey, second brother Qin, this kid is also one of us. Why do you need to be polite with him? What's that smell? Why is it so smelly? As Qing Yaojin spoke, he smelled a foul stench. He sniffed his nose and looked around, trying to find the source of the stench. Li Zishuan also smelled it. His eyes were sharp and saw Cui Shanyu, Zhu Qinglu, Sima Minglang, and the rest walking over. He smiled and tugged at Qing Yaojin's sleeve. Then, he held his breath and walked forward with cupped fist. Yo! Isn't this Professor Cui, Professor Zhu, and Professor Sima? Good morning to you all? Li Sai, good morning to you too. Cui Shanyu wasn't in a good mood today. He just pretended to cup his fists and greeted them briefly. Then, he didn't want to say anything else. The others didn't even say anything. They just cupped their fists. Li Zishuan didn't seem to care, but in his heart, he was cursing these people for stabbing him in the back. He suddenly pinched his nose and shouted exaggeratedly, "Oh, Professor Cui, why are you so smelly? Did you eat shit this morning? Did you eat shit this morning? Eat shit? Eat shit?" Li Zishuan's shout was relatively loud. Qing Yaojin was closer and heard it the best. Old Qing widened his eyes in shock. He pinched his nose and pointed at Cui Shanyu and the others. Bah, what a disgrace to the refined. You guys are the ones who are disgracing the refined. You even ate shit. Ugh. It's too smelly. Old Qing, can't take it anymore. Chapter 314. Heavens! There's actually someone eating shit? Ugh. It really smells like shit. Preposterous, today is such an important day, isn't Cui Shanyu purposely causing trouble? Qing Yaojin's voice was even louder. All the civil and military officials who had been waiting for Cui Shanyu's arrival heard it. They all widened their eyes and looked at Cui Shanyu and the others in disbelief. Then, they smelled the faintly discernible smell of shit in the air. All the officials, nimbly, jumped far away, as if they were escaping from the plague. Cui Shanyu and the others immediately formed a circle around them. The commotion here also attracted the attention of the 20,000 Navy soldiers not far away, but because of the strict military rules, they didn't run over to watch the commotion. Even so, they constantly looked over. You, how dare you slander this old man? You. Cui Shanyu saw that everyone was distancing themselves from them with disdain, and even the few officials who were usually on good terms with him weren't willing to come close to him. In the blink of an eye, their reputation of eating shit was about to be confirmed. Cui Shanyu, who always valued his reputation, couldn't help but be ashamed to death. He pointed his trembling right hand at Li Zishuan and angrily cursed. At this moment, he couldn't care less that Li Zishuan was his superior, and even used the word scoundrel. My fellow colleagues, please don't listen to the nonsense of others. Why would we, scholars, eat such filthy things? This is all a misunderstanding. Yes, we just accidentally stepped on a child's shit on the road, we definitely wouldn't eat such filthy things. Assistant Minister Huang, you have to believe me. Lu Yenyu hurriedly pulled one of his usual good friends and explained. Ugh. Professor Lu, this one will believe you, let go first, I'm not feeling well. Ugh. Assistant Minister Huang hurriedly broke free from Lu Yenyu's hand and ran to the side to vomit. After all, he had just finished breakfast not long ago. The other doctors had basically fallen into the same situation. No matter how they explained, no one was willing to listen. They all fled in all directions. This was because they were all in the same situation as Assistant Minister Huang, having just finished their breakfast. Who would be willing to deal with such an unappetizing matter? Fang Xianling, Du Ruhui, Zhangsun Wuji, and Wei Zheng, these few civil officials, also stood far away and frowned as they looked at the 8 Imperial College professors. Preposterous! How can Cui Shanyu and the others be so ignorant? Wei Zheng said with a face of displeasure. Maybe there's something else, let's wait for His Majesty to come. Fang Xianling said. Zhangsun Wuji smiled but didn't say anything. He looked at Li Zishuan, who was far away, with a meaningful gaze. This old man's dozens of years of reputation has actually been destroyed by your hands. This old man. Seeing that his reputation was about to be destroyed in an instant, Cui Shanyo's eyes almost split open, and he couldn't hold it in any longer. He moved his old arms and legs and charged towards Li Zixuan like a madman. Looking at his posture, he wanted to smash Li Zixuan to death. Li Zixuan was shocked and ran around in the crowd pathetically while shouting, "Professor Cui, I'm innocent. This brat has never said that you ate shit. I'm just asking if you ate sh*t. With his skills, even if he stood still and let Cui Shanyu hit him for a year, he would be fine. However, he was afraid that Cui Shanyu would scam him. Seeing that this person was already so old, if something happened to him, wouldn't he be blackmailed for a large sum of medical fees? Bastard! This old man will not live under the same sky as you. When Cui Shanyu heard Li Zixuan say, "Eat shit" again and again, and that he was as slippery as a loach and couldn't be caught at all, he couldn't hold it in any longer. He staggered 2 steps and spat out a mouthful of blood. Professor Cui, are you okay? Zhu Qinglu, Sima Minglang, Gu Fengyan, Shangguan Yufeng, Lu Yanyu, Zheng Zhanli, Xikong Linghao, and the rest rushed over to support Cui Shanyu. They had smelled the sh*t smell for so long that they had developed a certain level of immunity. Therefore, no one would despise each other at this moment. Sigh. It's none of my business, okay? Professor Cui, why are you so persistent? Look at how old you are. If others see this, they might say that I'm bullying you. Li Zixuan said with pity. You. Cui Shanyu said, you, for a long time. Finally, he couldn't take it anymore. His eyes rolled back and he fainted completely. Professor Cui, wake up! Professor Cui, wake up! The other 7 directorate professors instantly lost their backbone. All of them grabbed Cui Shanyu's arm and cried sorrowfully. You, bring a few people and carry him to the Imperial Physician Department. From afar, Zhang Sun Wuji finally couldn't take it anymore. He decided to end this farce. He called a soldier over and ordered. Yes. The silver-armored soldier bowed and received the order. He brought 2 of his subordinates and ran towards the scene. Hey, what's wrong with you today? Did these people offend you somehow? After the scene regained its calm, Cheng Yaojin grabbed Li Zixuan and laughed. I'm innocent. Uncle Cheng. I was just making a wild guess. I didn't expect your reaction to be so big and shout out those words. Li Zixuan definitely couldn't take the blame for this. It would really damage his perfect image of being a righteous person who respected the elderly and loved the young. Thus, he casually threw the blame to Cheng Yaojin. Anyway, this old demon was already full of lice. There were plenty of people who hated him anyway. Smack. Cheng Yaojin was so angry that his beard blew and his eyes widened. He slapped Li Zixuan's head and scolded, Bullsh *t. You were the one who said it. How dare you put the blame on me? You brat, you've grown up. Li Zixuan rubbed his head and muttered to himself, no wonder Cheng Chumo's brain isn't that bright. He must have been beaten up by Cheng Yaojin since he was young. Haha. It's been a while since we last met, and Shaoxian has become even more powerful. First, he angered Cui Shanyu until he fainted. Now, he provoked Cheng Jijia. Looks like there's going to be another demon king in Tang Dynasty. At this moment, a middle-aged general in full battle armor walked over with a majestic gait. It was Li Xiaogong. Your Highness, how come you're free now? Although Li Zixuan didn't agree with Li Xiaogong's statement that the Great Tang is about to have another demon king in chaos, he was more surprised that Li Xiaogong still had the time to talk to them at this time. Haha. Why wouldn't I be free? Look, the army has been reorganized. The civilian caravans and sailors have also gathered. They're just waiting for His Majesty to come. Why can't I be free? Li Xiaogong pointed at the neat and orderly army in the distance and said casually. Li Zixuan praised, Your Highness is indeed strict in managing the army. It's obvious that this is a tiger-wolf army. Haha. You really know how to talk. Li Xiaogong smiled proudly. TSK. This little ability is far inferior to me, old Cheng. Didn't you steal it from the pharmacist? Others would give Li Xiaogong some face, but Qing Yaojin wouldn't. When old Qing heard Li Xiaogong bragging and showing off, he couldn't help but mock him. Cough cough. Jijiu. Li Xiaogong almost fainted from anger. However, Qing Yaojin wasn't completely wrong. Li Xiaogong's ability to command the army was mostly learned when he fought side by side with Li Jing in the early years. Therefore, he could only glare at Qing Yaojin. Chapter 3:15. Brat, I've been thinking about it for the past few days and have decided to send my second son to your place. Otherwise, when I go out to sea, no one will take care of him. That brat will be out of control again and cause trouble everywhere. Qing Yaojin, Qin Xiong, and Li Xiaogong were all generals who had fought together on the battlefield. Normally, they would bicker and joke with each other, and none of them would take it to heart. After Li Xiaogong rebuked Qing Yaojin, he suddenly turned to Li Zixuan and said. Li Zixuan was speechless. What is the meaning of this? Have I become the director of a nursery school? Why do all of them like to chase their sons to my side? Does your Highness mean that you want Huiran to study in the Imperial College? Previously, he had heard from Qing Chumo that Li Xiaogong had a younger son called Li Huiran, who was only 12 or 13 years old. Oh, do as you see fit. You have so many skills. As long as that bastard can learn even a little from you, he won't starve to death when I'm old. Li Xiaogong shook his head and sighed with the vicissitudes of life. Xiaogong, you're only 36 this year. Isn't it too early to think so much? Qing Yaojin pursed his lips and said. It's not early anymore. Huiran isn't young anymore. It's time for him to do something. Your Chonyo has already started studying in the School of Mathematics. My Huiran can't fall behind, right? Li Xiaogong smiled and said. That's just right. After Huiran goes to Shaoxian, my Chonyo will be one step further from the roll of shame. Qing Yaojin was thick-skinned. No one knew where he got his confidence from, but he started to brag. You can't say for sure. Brat, after Huiran follows you, you can discipline him as you wish. As long as you don't beat him to death, you can do whatever you want with him. I won't say a word. Chang'an City was not so big. Li Zixuan had also heard about the calculator school's shame list. He sneered at Qing Yaojin and then turned to tell Li Zixuan. Li Zixuan wanted to refuse, but before he could say anything, Li Xiaogong retorted, Kid, don't even think about refusing. You can teach the Qing family, the Qin family, and the Yuqi family, so why can't you teach my Huiran? It's not like you need to worry about anything. This prince owes you a favor. What else could Li Zixuan do? He cupped his hands and said, Your Highness is too serious. I have never thought of refusing. Hey, you brat. Li Xiaogong chuckled, too lazy to expose him. Big brother, so you're here. At this time, a tall and sturdy man in purple with bronze skin walked over. He was about 20 years old, and behind him was a little girl who looked like a porcelain doll. She was about 3 or 4 years old, at most 4 years old. But just by looking at her now, it was very likely that she would grow up to be a beauty. Yo, Qing Fan, you're here too. Li Xiaogong smiled. Big brother is leading the army out to sea today. Of course, I have to come and send you off. Uncle Qing, who is this person? Li Zixuan quietly tugged at Qing Yaojin's sleeve and asked softly. This is the king of Jiangxia. How come you don't even know him? Qing Yaojin muttered with a strange expression. Li Zixuan was stunned for a moment. He didn't expect that this ordinary-looking man was the king of Jiangxia, Li Daozong. At the mention of Li Daozong, people immediately thought, isn't he the prince who framed Shui Rengui? But in fact, that was a novel. He didn't frame Xuerengui at all. Li Daozong, who had outstanding military achievements, was vilified for 1,000 years for no reason. Li Daozong's courtesy name was Qingfan. He was Li Er's cousin, and also Li Xiaogong's cousin. He participated in many battles in his life, such as defeating Lu Wuzhou, defeating Wang Shichong, destroying the Eastern Turks, Tuyuhun, and conquering Goguryeo. He made outstanding military achievements for the unification and expansion of the Tang dynasty. In his later years, Li Er evaluated Li Daozong as a famous general on the same level as Li Ji and Xue Wanche. During the period of Wuda Jinjin Temple, only Li Xiaogong and Li Daozong were in the imperial family. Li Daozong's great contributions could be seen from this. As for why he wasn't listed in the Lingyan Pavilion in the end, no one knew. Since this person was Li Daozong, then the identity of the little girl behind him was obvious. Wasn't she the famous Princess Wenqing Li Xuan? Li Zixuan looked at the quiet little girl who was only as tall as his knee and didn't know whether to laugh or cry. This was because when he had just transmigrated, he more or less had some thoughts about the famous beauties of the Tang dynasty. Princess Wenqing, who had left a thick mark in the history of the Tang dynasty, was naturally among them. But now, what was there to think about? Hey, Xuan, come and let Grandpa Qing hug you. Old Qing ignored Li Zixuan, who was in a daze. He squatted down and opened his arms to Li Xuan as he chuckled. Hello, Grandpa Qing. The little girl obviously knew Qing Yaojin. Seeing this, she ran over with small step. Hey, I haven't seen you for a few days. Our little Xuan has become prettier? Qing Yaojin picked up the little girl and coaxed her with a smile. You old man, you're clearly an uncle. How are you a grandfather? Xuan, come here, come to uncle. Li Xiaogong, who was talking to Li Daozong, suddenly had a dark expression on his face as he shouted angrily at Qing Yaojin. He had to be angry. Qing Yaojin was too shameless. He wanted to be older than him for no reason. Haha, this is what Xuan usually calls me. It's not like I instigated her. Qing Yaojin laughed proudly as he hugged little Xuan. First of all, he was 2 years older than Li Xiaogong and 11 years older than Li Daozong. Moreover, old Qing always liked to grow a large beard on his chin and cheeks, which made him look even older. Therefore, when Li Xuan first learned to speak, she often called Qing Yaojin Grandpa Qing. Now, she couldn't change it. Humph. I think you're the one who instigated her. At the mention of this, Li Xiaogong was a little flustered and exasperated. Li Daozong was also a little annoyed. However, in front of these old generals, he was indeed a little too inexperienced and couldn't say anything. Haha, lunatic Qing is still as shameless as ever. At this moment, Yuqi Jingda and Niu Jindao arrived. Together with Li Ji, Duan Jixuan, Lu Hongji, Chai Xiao, Ho Junji, and Li Jing, all of the upper echelons of Great Tang were here. Paying respects to Uncle Yuqi and Uncle Niu, Li Zixuan stepped forward and greeted the two of them with a smile. After all, he was a junior. Bullshit, you're the one who's shameless. Look at how thick your skin is. Hee, little Xuan, isn't Grandpa Qing right? It was as though Qing Yaojin and Yuqi Jingdo were enemies in their previous lives. The moment they saw each other, they started bickering. Pooey! Lunatic Qing, do you want to fight again? Haha. Do you think I'm afraid of you? But not today. I, old Qing, will fight you for 300 rounds another day. Qing Yaojin retorted as he played with little Xuan. His Majesty has arrived. At this moment, a sharp voice sounded, following which, a series of orderly and powerful footsteps could be heard. The noisy civil and military officials, as well as the commoners who were sending their loved ones off, quickly quietened down. Li Zixuan thought, the main show is finally here. Chapter 316. Hearing that Li Er had arrived, Li Xiaogong hurriedly ordered a guard to bring Li Xueyan to the carriages outside. That was where the family of the Junwang manor was. The Junwang consort had also come to send them off. After giving his orders, he hurried back to the front of the army to wait for Li Er's arrival. Today, Li Er did not ride the imperial chariot, nor did he muster a large force. He rode a strong black horse and wore the Mingguang armor. He only brought a few dozen guards and eunuchs with him. Of course, as the heir to the throne, Li Chengxian also came. "Greetings, Your Majesty! Greetings, Your Majesty! Greetings, Your Majesty!" After Li Er stood on the temporary inspection platform, the civil and military officials, as well as the 20,000 Navy soldiers, were the first to bow and kowtow. Then, the merchants and commoners behind them, followed by the commoners who were sending the bride off. All of them faced Li Er and bowed. Their voices shook the heavens, each wave louder than the last. At this moment, the world shook. Countless people knelt on the empty ground and around the Ba River. Other than Li Er, no one else stood with their heads held high. There were no 3 cries of "Long live." When meeting the emperor, the 3 cries of "Long live" were first passed down from Wu Zetian's coronation, nor were there any kneeling. In the Tang Dynasty, kneeling was not practiced. Unless it was a large-scale sacrifice to the heavens, one would not kneel when meeting the emperor. But Li Zishuan, who was present, was still shaken by these mighty cries. "Rise!" Li Er was dazed. How long had it been since he had heard the mighty cries of the soldiers in front of the battlefield? How nostalgic! After a moment, he came to his senses and shouted. "His Majesty has decreed that everyone rise! His Majesty has decreed that everyone rise!" Naturally, there were eunuchs below who passed on Li Er's words. "Thank you, Your Majesty! Thank you, Your Majesty!" Tens of thousands of people stood up and then stood ramrod straight by the Ba River. "Sovereign of the heavenly Tao, Sovereign of the heavenly Tao, let the sun and moon remain the same. Soldiers, today you will set sail. Unlike the usual battles on the battlefield, you will face countless unknown dangers on the vast sea. You are all good men of my great Tang, and we hope that in 3 months, you will all return alive. Of course, once outside the borders of the Great Tang, as soldiers of the Great Tang, you must ensure the safety of the people of the Great Tang traveling with the fleet. The people of the Great Tang are not to be bullied anywhere. If they encounter an enemy, they must be exterminated with all their strength. Did you all hear that?" Li Er roared. "If you encounter any invading enemies, do your best to destroy them. If you encounter any invading enemies, do your best to destroy them. If you encounter any invading enemies, do your best to destroy them." Hearing this, the soldiers of the 3 armies roared in unison. The glory of the Tang, the glory of the soldiers, was a glory that they had always defended with their lives. Even without Li Er's words, they would have done so. "Long live His Majesty! Long live His Majesty! Long live His Majesty!" Even though the custom of shouting "Long live His Majesty" 3 times was not yet popular, at this moment, many merchants, peasants, and common people were moved to tears by Li Er's words of love for the people as if they were his own children. An elderly man spontaneously shouted, "Long live His Majesty," and the others excitedly followed suit. In a few moments, the entire murky plain was filled with cries of "Long live His Majesty." Those who had experienced the turmoil of the world all knew how fortunate it was to have a wise ruler ruling the country. They truly hoped that Li Er could live to 10,000 years old. Li Zishuan was infected by this enthusiastic scene, his heart surging with emotion. He couldn't help but follow the crowd and shout, "Long live His Majesty." He thought to himself, whether or not Li Er was putting on a show, old Li's charisma was truly strong. With just a few words, he was able to stir the soldiers until their blood was boiling. Li Zishuan felt that he could not achieve this ability to inspire the hearts of the people. Li Er took in a deep breath. Of course, he was not putting on a show. He was just saying what he wanted to say. This scene was completely outside of his expectations. "Where is Li Xiaogong, director of the Nanyang army?" After the cheers dissipated, Li Er looked at the orderly soldiers below and roared. For this expedition, Li Xiaogong had been given the title of Director of the Nanyang Army. He was fully in charge of the 20,000 navy and tens of thousands of peasants. "This general is here." Li Xiaogong strode forward and cupped his fists. "Are the soldiers of the three armies ready?" "Your Majesty, the soldiers of the three armies can set off at any time," Li Xiaogong said loudly. "Good. Sacrifice. Set off. We wish you all a triumphant return." Li Er pulled out the long sword at his waist and pointed it at the blue sky as he roared majestically. "Yes." Li Xiaogong waved his hand, and 2 soldiers ran up to slaughter the cattle and sheep that had been prepared long ago. They began the last ceremony before the expedition. Of course, the Tang cherished cattle. The cow on the field was an old one that was about to die. Ever since the Western Zhou Dynasty, whenever an army was mobilized, they would hold a large-scale sacrificial ceremony. They would slaughter cattle and sheep to sacrifice to their ancestors and the gods of the land and grain. All the soldiers would line up, and the slaughtered cattle and sheep would circle the left and right of the formation. They would be called martyrs and announce that those who do not need to live will be killed. The commander would personally pour the blood of the animals on the weapons and call it provocation. He would symbolically pour some of the blood on the flags, drums, gold, and weapons used in battle. The strange thing was that the chariots that had been drenched in the blood had to be placed back in the warehouse to be preserved. After the sacrificial ceremony, the cattle and sheep would be cooked and distributed to the soldiers. This time, the fleet was originally going to trade with a small country in Nanyang, but the entire imperial court was preparing for this southern operation as a war. The necessary departure ceremony had to be carried out, and the soldiers' armor and weapons were also the best. The reason for this was because Li Zishuan had played a huge role in it. He had told Li Xiaogong about the sailing matters, including guarding against pirates and natives, and Li Xiaogong repeated them to Li Er. Li Er felt that it made sense, so he gathered Fang Xianling, Du Ruhui, Zhangsun Wuji, Li Jing, and the other important officials to discuss. These big shots were all far-sighted people. If Li Zishuan could see it clearly, how could they not see it clearly? Thus, they all seconded the proposal. Just like that, this huge fleet with sharp fangs gradually took shape. Today, they would set sail and enter Nanyang. The ceremony is complete. Set off. Around an hour later, the sacrificial ceremony was finally completed. Every soldier was symbolically given a piece of meat. After Li Xiaogong asked Li Er for instructions, he roared and ordered the army to set off. Walala! The soldiers, merchants, and farmers followed a rehearsed formation and boarded the ships in an orderly manner. The people who were sending off their loved ones all burst into an uproar. Everyone was shouting the names of their loved ones. "Father, Mother and I will wait for you to come back." In front of the crowd, Meng Wenhao's nose twitched. He held back his tears and waved at the fleet. However, his voice was quickly drowned out by the waves of cheers. Chapter 317. After half an hour, all the soldiers, merchants, and commoners had boarded the ships. Thousands of large merchant ships occupied the entire Ba River. It was a vast expanse of boundless expanse. It was very majestic. Dong 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 dong. On the shore, 2 strongmen began to beat the battle drums. The drumbeats became faster and faster, as if every beat was beating on people's hearts. When the soldiers on the ships heard the drumbeats, they began to wave their flags. All the merchant ships immediately hung up their sails and set sail. For a moment, the sails covered the sky. Along with the battle drums, the people on the shore inexplicably felt a sense of majesty and desolation. Some old people and women silently put their hands together and prayed that their loved ones would return safely. Sigh. I hope that you will all be safe. I have tried my best. Although he knew that there would be sacrifices at the beginning of every great era, Li Zichuan still hoped that no one would die. The plan to trade grain in the south was proposed by him. If many harmonious and happy families were broken because of this, he would feel uneasy. However, there were always gains and losses. This sea trade trip would definitely produce results that would shock everyone. In the next year's locust plague, many people would starve to death because of it. For the first time, the Tang Empire extended its claws and fangs overseas. Perhaps it would start a mighty era of great voyages. Fortunately, I have transmigrated to the Tang Dynasty. In this era, the emperor was wise and the ministers were virtuous. The whole country had a keen and progressive spirit, so it would be easier to facilitate the ocean voyages. However, if I had transmigrated to the Ming Dynasty, I would have to find a way to break through the sea ban policy. In the process, I would inevitably have to fight with some people who already benefited from it. Li Zichuan silently rejoiced that he had transmigrated to this open and high-spirited era. Otherwise, if he, who had no political experience, had to fight with a group of old foxes in the officialdom, wouldn't he be done for? Why don't I see Cui Shanyu? Didn't I ask him to come to the morning court today? After the departure ceremony, Li Er brought the civil and military officials back to the palace and started the morning court session. After an hour, there were no more ministers who had anything to report. At this moment, Li Er glanced at Zhu Qinglu, Lu Yenyu, Zheng Zhanli, and the others. He suddenly remembered that Cui Shanyu had submitted a secret memorial to impeach Li Zichuan yesterday. Hence, he asked softly, "What's the matter?" Li Zichuan had woken up too early in the morning and was dozing off with his back leaning against a huge wooden pillar. When he heard Li Er's question, his spirit was roused and he woke up. He thought to himself that the good show had finally begun. He just didn't know if these people could still sue without Cui Shanyu. Your Majesty, Professor Cui vomited blood and fainted after being angered by Li Sai. He is now being treated by the Imperial Physician Department. Your Majesty, please uphold justice for Professor Cui. Lu Yenyu cried out in grief and walked to the front of the officials. He said with some sadness. What was funny was that wherever he passed, everyone was smelled and took 2 steps back. Li Er saw it clearly from above and was puzzled. Suddenly, a foul smell hit him in the face. Li Er quickly covered his nose and said unhappily, "What did Minister Lu eat this morning? Why is it so smelly?" Ugh! Lu Yenyu, who was playing the sympathy card in front of Li Er, suddenly felt his mind go blank when he heard this. He thought of what had happened since this morning and couldn't help but feel sad. He felt that the whole world was full of malice. Your Majesty, this old minister went out this morning and accidentally stepped on a child's feces. In order to participate in the departure ceremony, this old minister only washed it hastily. This caused a breach of etiquette in front of you. Your Majesty, please forgive me. After being stunned for a while, Lu Yenyu could only admit defeat and beg for forgiveness with a bitter face. Oh, forget it. Considering your loyalty, I won't pursue the matter. Although Li Er was unhappy, he couldn't punish someone for such a small matter. He waved his hand and said magnanimously, "Thank you, Your Majesty. You said that Cui Shanyu was angered by Li Zichuan to vomit blood. What happened? Quickly tell me." Li Er looked indifferently at Li Zichuan, who was leaning on the coiling dragon pillar, and asked indifferently. He was a little annoyed and secretly blamed Li Zichuan for causing trouble for no reason. Your Majesty, today on Murky Island, Li Sai slandered us for eating feces. Everyone knows about it. Professor Cui has always valued his reputation. How could he accept such an insult? He was so depressed that he vomited 3 liters of blood and fainted from anger. Lu Yenyu was so moved that tears almost flowed out. After dawdling for so long, Li Er finally asked the main question. Thus, he stepped forward excitedly and bent down to complain to Li Er. However, this almost suffocated Li Er to death. Li Zixuan, who was behind him, widened his eyes and secretly scolded Lu Yenyu for being so shameless. What did he mean by vomiting 3 liters of blood? Why don't you King try vomiting 3 liters of blood? Let's see if you can still live? As expected, a scholar didn't use a knife to kill people. He only relied on his mouth. Your Majesty, I'm innocent. This humble subject smelled a stench when Dr. Chui spoke this morning. I only asked him if he ate shit in the morning. This humble subject definitely did not announce to outsiders that he ate shit. This humble subject can testify to this point, both civil and military officials present. Instead of waiting to be wronged, it was better to take the initiative to explain. In any case, Li Zixuan could not be blamed for what happened this morning. If there was anyone to blame, it was old man Chui who stabbed him in the back. Moreover, his psychological endurance was too weak. Your Majesty, this old subject can testify. Li Sai's words are true. Cheng Yaojin immediately stood up and supported Li Zixuan. On the way to the palace, Li Zixuan had already told Cheng Yaojin and the others about his impeachment by Cui Shanyu and the others. Of course, old Cheng would stand on Li Zixuan's side. Moreover, he had also played a part in making Cui Shanyu faint in the morning. Hearing Li Zixuan and Cheng Yaojin's words, Li Er nodded indifferently. He looked at Lu Yenyu and asked, Minister Lu, is what Li Sai said true? This, Lu Yenyu was dumbfounded. If he objected again, he would be lying to the emperor. After all, there were many people present at that time, and they were all on good terms with Li Zixuan. Your Majesty, although what Li Sai said is true, Professor Chui fainted from anger because of Li Sai. Moreover, when we went out today, we found a large amount of children's feces at our doorstep. This subject believes that this might have something to do with Li Sai. At this moment, another feces man stepped out from the crowd and cupped his hands at Li Er. It was Zheng Zhanli, the doctor of the Four Gates Academy. Oh? There's such a thing? Li Zixuan, did you do this? A glint flashed across Li Er's eyes as he looked at Li Zixuan and asked. In fact, he guessed that this immoral thing was most likely done by Li Zixuan. After all, he had just shown the impeachment of Cui Shanyu and the others to Li Zixuan yesterday. Heh, this brat is really vengeful. Li Er scolded in his heart. Chapter 318. Your Majesty, this has nothing to do with me. Professor Zheng, you have to have evidence before you speak. I have no grudges with you, so how could I do something so despicable? This doesn't make sense at all. Li Zixuan cried out his grievances. In any case, none of the courtiers knew that Cui Shanyu had impeached him in private. Furthermore, no one knew that Li Er had talked to him yesterday and practiced in advance. As long as he grasped these 2 points, he would be able to clear his suspicions. Of course, Li Er must have known about it, but old Li would not expose him. Yes. Why would Li Sai do something like this for no reason? Yes. Zheng Zhanli is slandering us. Say, do you think this is just an excuse they made up? Actually, they really did eat it this morning. Li Zixuan's words were reasonable, and he was born with good looks, so it was easy for people to like him. As long as there was no conflict of interest with him, most people would believe what he said. Hearing the discussions of the courtiers, Zheng Zhanli almost vomited blood. He could almost hear his own heart breaking. What the F***ck? Where was the trust between people? Why did no one believe him when he spoke the truth? This Li Zixuan's move was ruthless. Zheng Zhanli could not think of any excuse to refute, so he could only swallow this loss silently. Your Majesty, no matter what, Cui Shanyu lost consciousness because of Li Sai. Your Majesty should give Cui Shanyu an explanation. At this moment, A middle-aged man in purple official robes walked out and bowed to Li Er. "Hey, Uncle Cheng, who is this?" Li Zishuan tugged at Qing Yaojin and asked softly. "It's the Chamberlain of Dependencies, Chui Shanfu, AF * King Hypocrite." Qing Yaojin pursed his lips. Chui Shanfu? Li Zishuan's heart skipped a beat. Could this Chui Shanfu be related to Chui Shanyu in some way? Zhao Song, send someone to the Imperial Physician Department to ask about Chui Shanyu. Li Er thought for a moment and ordered. "Yes, Your Majesty." Zhao Song accepted the order and left. Li Er then looked at Chui Shanfu and said, "Minister Chui's words are not without reason. How about this? Li Sai's words were rude and caused Professor Chui to fall to the bed in anger. His salary will be deducted for 3 months. What do you think? Isn't this a little heavy?" "Yeah, Li Sai didn't do anything." As soon as Li Er finished speaking, some of the ministers who didn't know the truth all felt that Li Er's punishment was too heavy. Chui Shanfu, Jing Zhanli, and Lu Yenyu, who were at the front, heard the discussions around them and their faces were as black as the bottom of a pot. "Your Majesty is wise." Chui Shanfu had been immersed in the officialdom for many years. He knew that if this matter continued, there would be no result. Instead, it would make Li Er unhappy. He could only cup his hands in agreement. "Your Majesty is wise. Your Majesty is wise." Jing Zhanli, Lu Yenyu, and the others cupped their fists in agreement. The other big shots in the imperial court were all watching coldly from the sidelines. They didn't care about such a small matter, and there was no need for them to stand up for anyone. Only Li Zishuan was cursing in his heart. As expected, this Chui Shanyu was not a good person. His heart was weak and he fainted from anger, and he blamed it on him. He had taken so many precautions, but he didn't expect that he would still be blackmailed. It wasn't that he was unwilling to part with the 3 months' salary. He just felt that his salary would be deducted by Li Er because of this trivial matter. Since there are no objections, then let's talk about Minister Lu and the others impeaching Li Zishuan. Li Er nodded in satisfaction and started talking about the important matter. When the ministers who were watching the commotion heard this, their eyes lit up. They knew that this was the secret that they didn't know. "I've been impeached? Lord Lu, Lord Jing, I've just arrived at the Imperial College and don't know the rules. If I've done anything inappropriate, please point it out to me. I'll definitely consider your opinions carefully. But why did the two of you?" At this moment, Li Zishuan's face turned pale with fright. Then, he cupped his hands and said to Lu Yenyu and Jing Zhanli with a panicked look. His aggrieved expression and fearful words were a living example of a newbie who had just entered the officialdom admitting his mistake to his seniors. This also attracted the sympathy of many people. They thought that Lu Yenyu, Jing Zhanli, and the others were using their seniority to bully the newbies in the Imperial College. It was only then that Kong Ingda knew that Chui Shanyu, Lu Yenyu, and the others had already impeached Li Zishuan behind his back. He snorted angrily and glared fiercely at these people. Lu Yenyu was a little flustered when he felt the malicious gazes around him. He wasn't the one who started the impeachment this time. Now that their backbone, Chui Shanyu, wasn't here, he was a little at a loss. "Your Majesty, I think that this matter should wait until Professor Chui recovers from his illness." Lu Yenyu braced himself and said, Why? Isn't your name also on that secret memorial?" Li Er narrowed his eyes and asked. "Your Majesty, this secret memorial was mainly written by Professor Chui." So Lu Yenyu could hear the displeasure in Li Er's tone, and he said fearfully, "Your Majesty, the Imperial Physician Department's medical officer said that Chui Bo's morale has attacked his heart. Coupled with his advanced age, I'm afraid that he won't be able to get out of bed for at least 10 days after vomiting this mouthful of heart blood." At this moment, Zhao Song came in from outside and reported to Li Er with a bow. It's actually that serious? It looks like Professor Chui won't be able to come. What should we do? Behind him, Zhu Qinglu, Sima Minglang, Gu Fengyan, and the other doctors discussed in low voices worriedly. Go and get the Imperial Physician Department's medical officer to treat Chui Shanyu properly. Li Er instructed Zhao Song. Yes, Your Majesty. Since Minister Chui is unwell, then we'll discuss this impeachment after Minister Chui recovers. How about that? Li Er thought for a while, looked at Lu Yenyu and the others, and asked. Your Majesty is wise. Lu Yenyu and Zheng Zhanli heaved a sigh of relief and hurriedly agreed. I didn't expect that my little trick would actually cause Chui Shanyu's long-planned impeachment to fail. What a pleasant surprise. Li Zishuan heard and thought happily in his heart. Then all officials, please report if you have something to report. If there's nothing, the court is dismissed. Li Er estimated that the time was about right. He heaved a sigh of relief and said, Court is dismissed. After waiting for a while and seeing that no one came out, Li Er decisively dismissed the court. The smell in Taiji Palace today was too pungent, and he couldn't take it any more. Court is dismissed. The deacon eunuch beside the dragon table announced loudly, and the officials all bowed down. Farewell, Your Majesty. After Li Er left, the officials all left one after another. You rascal, you're really something. An impeachment that was set in stone was ruined by you. Not bad, ha. Outside the palace, Cheng Yaojin patted Li Zishuan's shoulder and laughed loudly. Chapter 319. Boss, if you ask me, those kids would be satisfied if you gave them 10 copper coins each. Why do you have to give them so much? In a small tavern in the East Market, a hooligan-looking young man said as he ate. What do you know? This time, the higher-ups gave us an extra 5 copper coins as a reward for our hard work. If we continue to embezzle and are discovered by the higher-ups, how can we get a share of such a good thing next time? The burly man opposite the young man happily took a sip of wine and said snappily. This person was Biaozi, who led a group of children to Chui Shanyu's house to shit in the morning. Biaozi was a hooligan in the southern part of Chang'an City. He had more than 10 underlings under him. He was trustworthy and had no ambition, but he treated his own people very well. Therefore, his underlings were willing to follow him. If the rich had anything inconvenient to do, they liked to ask him to do it. Boss is wise. Boss is wise. The lackey hurriedly gave him a loud and clear flattery. You have good taste. But boss, who do you think came to us this time? Why would they make such a strange request? And the reward is so high. Is there something wrong with this person's brain? Another follower asked with a grin. Slap. There's something wrong with your brain. They have money, so they can do whatever they want. Why do you care so much? If they didn't give you money, you would still be begging on the streets. Biaozi was so angry that he slapped the underling's head. Boss is right, boss is right. Why did His Majesty let you attend the morning court today? Did something happen? After bragging to old Qing in front of the palace gate for a while and sarcastically ridiculing Lu Yenyu and the others, Li Zishuan happily returned home and met his father, who was full of worry. Li Zishuan's father did not know that Li Er had given Li Zishuan special treatment yesterday. In order to prevent his parents from worrying, Li Zishuan did not tell Li Jingma about Chui Shanyu and the others' impeachment. He only said that Li Er had asked him to attend the morning court today, but did not elaborate on the reason. However, Li Jingma was a shrewd person. He more or less guessed it, but since his son did not say it, he did not ask. Father, it's nothing serious. It's just a few impeachments. I've already taken care of it. Li Zishuan laughed and said without care. As it turned out, apart from Chui Shanyu, the rest of the 8 professors from the Imperial College could not withstand a single blow. There was no need to worry his parents because of them. Impeachment? Who dares impeach my son? My Xian is conscientious in the Imperial College, working hard to cultivate talents for the Imperial Court. Why do they still want to impeach him? Madame Li, who had come with Father Li, said indignantly. Li Zixuan's face turned red from the praise. Conscientious and painstaking, were they talking about him? Ahem, mother, it's okay. Those who can withstand the hardships of heaven are really men of iron. Those who are not envied are mediocre. I've done too well in the Imperial College, so it's inevitable that others will be jealous. Don't worry, His Majesty knows what I've done. He won't do anything to me because of those people. In order to reassure his parents, Li Zixuan threw caution to the wind and boasted of his own abilities. Brother, you're really thick-skinned. Lan ran over and made a shy face as she giggled. Hey, little girl, you're really asking for a beating. No. Li Zixuan pretended to hit her, and Lan was so scared that she ran all over the courtyard. Li Zixuan's parents looked at their children playing in the courtyard with a warm expression. They felt that it was really good to be together as a family. Good friend, are you all right? Imperial Physician Department. Lu Yenyu, Jing Zhanli, and the others, who had just finished the morning court, came to the Imperial Physician Department to visit Cui Shanyu. Oh, it's nothing serious. Yenyu, how was the court today? Did His Majesty punish Li Zixuan severely? With Zheng Zhanli's help, Cui Shanyu sat up and leaned against the headboard as he asked weakly. He was old, and his vitality was already weak. Cui Shanyu's vomiting of blood was really a big blow to his vitality. Brother Cui, His Majesty didn't discuss our impeachment of Li Zixuan during the morning court today? Lu Yenyu said submissively. What? How? Ahem. Brother Cui, calm down, calm down. His Majesty said that we'll discuss this matter separately after you recover. Your health is more important. You must take care. Cui Shanyu was so anxious that his blood rushed to his head, and he couldn't help but cough. Zheng Zhanli quickly patted his back and comforted him. Sigh, you guys don't understand. This time we could have caught Li Zixuan off guard, but we didn't expect this to happen. I can only blame myself for not being able to keep my composure. Sigh, as the saying goes, the first drum builds the spirit, the second will weaken, and the third will be exhausted. After this incident, Li Zixuan will be prepared. Next time, even if I fight him personally, I'm afraid that I won't be his match. Cui Shanyu said with a worried face. The others also understood that Cui Shanyu was telling the truth, and they couldn't help but feel frustrated. They secretly regretted not standing up for Cui Shanyu in the court. The room fell into silence. Fine. Yenyu, tell me in detail what happened in the Imperial Court today. Cui Shanyu sighed and accepted his fate. Okay. Then I'll tell you in detail. Hee, little Xian, I heard that you made Cui Bo of the Imperial Academy vomit blood today. Haha, tell me about it. Yes. Sir, tell me quickly. Now many people in Chang, an city, are saying that a few doctors in the Imperial Academy 8sh*t. Is it true? In the afternoon, Qing Chumo, who was bored at home, and Li Yu, who came out to collect literature and find inspiration, came to the Li mansion to look for Li Zixuan to play. In fact, they came to listen to Li Zixuan, the person involved, talk about the interesting incident that happened on Murky Lake in the morning. In the morning, there were so many people present, and the news of the doctors of the Imperial Academy 8sh*t had spread like wildfire. However, listening to others say it was more interesting than hearing it from Li Zixuan, the person involved. Oh? This matter has spread like wildfire? Li Zixuan raised his eyebrows in surprise. He really didn't know about this. Yes. It's been spreading for a long time. When I went to the workshop this morning, I heard people talking about it. Li Yu smiled sweetly. Hey, my father said that this matter must be caused by you, little Xian. Tell me honestly, how did you do it? Old Ching, want to try it in the future? Ching Chumo narrowed his eyes and smiled evilly. Get lost. How can you say something like that? This matter has nothing to do with me at all. Li Zishuan kicked Ching Chumo and said, Okay. If you say it has nothing to do with you, then it has nothing to do with you. Hurry up and tell us, Ching Chumo said with a smile. Okay. Since you want to hear it, then I'll tell you. Oh right, little you have to listen carefully. With a little editing, it can be good news material. Li Zishuan rubbed his chin and said thoughtfully. Chapter 320. Wait, are you saying that Chui Shanfu interceded for me in front of His Majesty? Imperial Physician Bureau. Chui Shanyo's expression froze as he interrupted Lu Yenyu's narration. Yes. If not for Minister Chui, Li Zishuan would not have received any punishment this time. Brother Shanyu would have been injured for nothing. Lu Yenyu lamented. That's great. Chui Shanyo's pale face suddenly flushed red as he excitedly muttered to himself. That's right, Li Zishuan's salary will be deducted for 3 months. This can be considered as helping Brother Shanyu vent his anger. That's great. Lu Yenyu thought that he understood Chui Shanyo's meaning and echoed. Chui Shanyu shook his head and said no more. Pfft! Sir, you're so sarcastic. Professor Chui will probably be angered to death by you. Li Residence West Courtyard. After listening to Li Zishuan's description, Li Yu was overjoyed as she covered her mouth and laughed. Li Zishuan's face darkened as he said angrily, What are you talking about? It's not my fault. I'm just concerned about Professor Chui. He's the one who's narrow-minded and misunderstood. Little Xian, you're so thick-skinned. Ching Chumo curled his lips. Get lost. No matter how thick-skinned it is, it's not as thick as yours. Li Zishuan threw a cherry at him and said angrily. There weren't many types of fruits in ancient times. Li Zishuan ate whatever he could get his hands on in the hot weather. It was worth mentioning that cherries were already available in the Western Zhou Dynasty, but they were only high-grade offerings for the imperial family and the emperor to worship the ancestral temple. Cherries were known as the number 1 fruit. It was said that orioles loved to peck on these fruits, hence the name Yingtao. In ancient times, cherries were often used by the emperor to reward important officials. Wang Wei, Han Yu, Zhang Ji, Bai Ji, and the others were overjoyed and grateful after eating them. At that time, receiving a plate of cherries from the emperor was very honorable and could show one's status in the family. Although cherries were precious and most of them were offered to the royal family as tribute, as the saying goes, money makes the world go round. The Li family was extremely wealthy, so it wasn't difficult for them to get some cherries to eat. Hey, how can you just throw away such a good thing? Ching Chumo mumbled as he caught the cherry flying towards him with one hand and threw it directly into his mouth. Li Zishuan didn't care about these things, but to him, it was a rare thing. D. At this time, there was a sudden D sound coming from the inner room. Ching Chumo was surprised and immediately stuck his head out to look inside. Wow! What's ringing? You guys wait here for a while, I have something to do. Li Zishuan could not be bothered with him. He rushed into the room and began to record the telegram. Han Yushi, young master, are you there? Li Zishuan immediately replied, Yes, what's up? And didn't I tell you not to call me young master? Why did you forget again? A moment later, Han Yushi, I forgot, I'm sorry. Li Zishuan smiled and replied, It's fine, Yushi, do you want to say something? Han Yushi, No. I'm just alone, and I can't help but let my imagination run wild. Li Zishuan, what are you thinking about? Han Yushi, I'm wondering if I'm not good enough for Big Brother Xiao Xian. Well, could this be the legendary premarital anxiety? Li Zishuan shook his head. This was the first time he had encountered such a situation. After thinking for a while, he replied, "Silly girl, don't think too much. Have you heard any gossip recently? Don't care what others say. Whether I'm good enough for you or not is only up to me. Understand?" Han Yushi. Then big brother Xiao Xian, do you think I'm ugly? Li Zixuan was taken aback and said, "I don't mind. When have I ever?" Yushi, why do you ask? Han Yushi. Sob, so you're saying that I'm ugly? F*ck. A modern man like me was tricked by an ancient girl? Li Zixuan looked at Han Yushi's reply and was stunned. Xiao Xian, are you sick? Why are you smiling and frowning at a metal box? Qing Chumo and Li Zixuan waited outside for a long time, but Li Zixuan did not come out. Instead, they heard beep, beep, beep sounds coming from inside. This guy was never a patient person. Although Li Zixuan did not let him in, he still sneaked in. You're the one who's sick. Li Zixuan really wanted to take a smelly sock and stuff this guy's mouth. He said unhappily. Then Xiao Xian, what are you doing? Looks like it's pretty fun. Qing Chumo was clear in his heart. He also knew that something that Li Zixuan cherished so much must be something good, so he said shamelessly. This is a telegraph. I'm sending a message to Han Yushi. Li Zixuan explained as he replied to Han Yushi. Sending a message? How do you send a message with this thing? Qing Chumo was shocked. It's through this beep, beep, beep. The different rhythms of the beep, 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 beep represent different characters. When combined, it becomes a letter. Qing Chumo would definitely not understand if it was difficult to explain, so Li Zixuan could only explain it in simple terms. Sir, were you making this telegraph when you were at Drunken Wind Pavilion in the workshop a few days ago? Li Yu heard the conversation inside and couldn't hold back her curiosity. She walked in and asked. During those few days when Li Zixuan was secluded in Drunken Wind Pavilion to study the telegraph, Faubert marked the pavilion as a forbidden area. Therefore, although Li Yu knew that Li Zixuan was in the workshop at that time, she didn't have the chance to greet him. Yes, that's right. Li Zixuan chatted with Han Yushi for a while, then turned around and said, That's not right. The Han family manor is more than 20 miles away from here. Xiao Xian, how can your telegraph transmit so far? Qing Chumo still had some brains, so he asked in puzzlement. What's impossible about that? Facts have proven that it can transmit so far. There was no need to explain electromagnetism to Qing Chumo. Even if he did, he wouldn't understand. Qing Chumo rolled his eyes and was speechless. Suddenly, he said excitedly, Xiao Xian, since this telegraph is so useful, why don't you give me one too? No way. Why? I have money, I can buy it with money. Qing Chumo stomped his feet. Go away. I don't care about your money. There are only 2 telegraph machines in the world. Where am I going to get you another one? Li Zixuan was so angry that he laughed. This guy actually had the nerve to show off his wealth in front of him. Then you can make me another one. Qing Chumo said unyieldingly. No, why do you have to have a telegraph machine? Who do you want to send messages to? Li Zixuan said impatiently. You, of course. With this, I won't have to come all the way here if I have something to do. What do you think? Qing Chumo said matter-of-factly. Scram. F***CKU. I'm not gay. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Nights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.